This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to a big Friday edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. And the Winnipeg Jets are not dead. After a big 4-0 win last night at Canada Life Center to get back on the plane and head down to Dallas, looking to extend the series to a 7th game right here in the Peg in the whiteout on Monday night in a do-or-die Game 7. Amazing night at the arena. Like we said yesterday, I knew the fans would be ready to go, and they certainly were, and man, were the Winnipeg Jets ready. Playing with the level of commitment to their game and desperation that you would expect and hope to see from a team facing elimination. Led by a 22-save performance by Connor Hellebuck with a shutout over the Dallas Stars, his second of the series, both at home, and 2 goals from Nikolai Ehlers. The Winnipeg Jets get off the mat after a couple tough losses in Dallas and are right back in this series, but simply have to find a way to win a game on the road to earn an opportunity to move on to the next round and take on the Edmonton Oilers. We're going to be all over it today. John Shannon from the 100% Hockey Podcast is going to jump on with us in about half an hour. We'll also have Jeff Hamilton join the program, and then it is the Seabears home opener tonight, so we got to get the Slapman on with us to tee up this upcoming season. Joey Slattery will join us. And, of course, today, a nice dedication to the late Chad Posthumus, who was, in a lot of ways, the face of the Seabears franchise for the first couple of years. I know that before the season tips off tonight, there'll be, an emotional dedication to Chad, who was lost far, far too early over the course of this offseason. A real tragedy. But looking forward to getting the hoops going again in the city, so we will talk to Slats. And then it's Friday. We got to jump on and see what's up with Hacksaw. NFL schedule out right now. Is Aaron Rodgers actually going to sign anywhere? We'll see what Hacksaw's got to say, as well as see what they're saying in SoCal about Ken Holland being the new general manager of the Los Angeles Kings. So buckle up. We got a big one today. Stick around for marbles just around 3 p.m. or thereabouts as we finish off today's program and get ready for a big one tomorrow night in Dallas, 7 o'clock. And, had to have it, which goes without saying, to extend the series. But considering we had, 35, 36 degrees earlier this week, and now we've got some typical garbage May-long weekend weather, that's good. That's fine. We'll handle it because everyone, you got plans tomorrow night, and it doesn't involve being outside. It involves watching the Winnipeg Jets try and get this series back to the Peg. We'll bring Michael Remis in just a second. We'll hear from Coach Scott Arniel, Nikolai Ehlers. Mark Scheifele actually spoke today. We'll try and squeeze some of that in as well for you. But I do want to thank the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet Canada. Live betting going on right now for the PGA Championship. I see Rory and Xander Schauffele and Scotty Scheffler feature group this afternoon. We'll keep an eye on those guys today. Of course, Princess Auto, Prairie Toyota Dealers and Ben Moss, F Apparel, Aikens Lake, Let's Do It Travel, Manitoba Battery, Canadian Club, St. Vital Dental Center, and Rowley's Transfer, Breezy Bend, Assiniboia Downs, the Gold Eyes, Little Brown Jug, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports. We'll get to a Why Not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. And we'll do some fan feedback for our friends at fansfirst.ca. Here's hoping that Fans First is going to be a very, very busy site over the course of Sunday and Monday leading into a potential Game 7 here in Winnipeg. Welcome to everybody in the chat. Great to see you all. The vibes are high. And welcome to you, Michael Remis, who did a great job, along with Connor Rabchak, the Suit Boys, a walking commercial for F Apparel, if you will, doing a great job yesterday with their post-game reaction from the arena after Game 5. And what a game it was, Michael Remis. Exactly what this team and this city needed heading into the long weekend, knowing that their team would live to play another day.
Yeah, you said on the post-game the Jets were looking to improve in a number of areas last night, and they improved in all of them. They got the better goaltending, Connor Hellebuck with the shutout. You finally got some depth scoring, Nemesnikov and Iafallo getting in on their first points of the series. The power play started working, 2 for 5, but also the penalty kill, 4 for 4 on the penalty kill. So those 4 things led the Winnipeg Jets to a 4-0 win. The defense in the neutral zone, keeping the Stars over and over out of the Jets' end, was incredible. The forecheck, it was a classic 2024-25 Winnipeg Jets game with their backs against the wall. Now 2-0 in elimination games, Hustler, and out-shooting Dallas 32-22, out-hitting them 49-32, and scoring first, absolutely huge. They had an incredible first period where they really outshot Dallas. But you thought, oh, well, Dallas, what if they get the first one? What is going to happen? But Mark Scheifele banking one in off a Stars defenseman. I've had a couple of those goals this series, and the Jets, you keep putting pucks on net as they were doing. Something good will happen. And they got on the board first and ran away with it after that.
Scheifele's had some really weird goals this playoffs.
Yes.
I think he's got 5 of them. The first 2 against St. Louis were both sort of deflections or off someone. And then yesterday, after some great chances that were saved by Ottinger, it was a shot that was going nowhere near the net. Well, somewhat near the net, bouncing off a defenseman and in. And listen, Reed, we said that this team needed a break. And you earn your breaks. And I thought the Winnipeg Jets did an awesome job last night of, controlling the play, having the majority of the scoring chances, and they needed to get a break. They got one, and then started making things happen with special teams. The penalty kill was awesome last night, being a perfect 4 for 4, and then a couple power play goals go a long way to. And I'll say this, Reem, even though at the end of the second period it was 1-0, I thought that the power play late in the second period was as good as the Jet power play had looked at any point maybe in the last couple months. And they got another opportunity early in the third period, which quickly was turned into a 5-on-3 after another Dallas penalty. And Nikolai Ehlers, who has had so many opportunities, taking that puck into the blue paint from the side, both on the power play and at 5-on-5, ended up being able to score, gave the Jets that cushion, and they never looked back. A goal by Vlad Nemesnikov, also on the power play later on in the third period to make it 3-0, gave them that cushion. And then Ehlers with one more burst of speed, icing it with the empty netter. And the fans left happy, and everyone's ready for that game on Saturday night. Great game from Hellebuck. And listen, the entire team played so well in front of him. Like, what was it? Halfway through the game, what did Dallas had 7 shots on net? Maybe 8? I mean, that was the blueprint. That was Winnipeg Jets hockey. Now, you hope you'll be able to do something similar without the matchups that you have the benefit of getting when you're at home. There's a number of things the Jets are going to need to figure out, but they've had a couple cracks at Dallas in tight games in this series, and now they got to find a way to make it happen and create some of their own breaks on the road. So we've got an opportunity to throw the whites on and get back in that building and see who will play the Edmonton Oilers for a trip to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, when we looked at the task of coming back down 3-1, sounds really hard, but when you take it into one-game segments, well, can they win a game at home at Canada Life Center where they only lost one all playoffs? Yeah, absolutely, and they certainly replicated Game 2 last night, and now the task is, okay, can you win a game on the road? And they played well enough to win a game on the road in their last game in Game 4, but Jake Ottinger really put the team on his back in Game 4. He was very good last night as well, but Connor Hellebuck just a bit better. So if there was ever a time to break this streak, Huss, of road losses, it would be Saturday night at 7 p.m. The game actually on ABC in the U.S. broadcast television. And
how about that?
Yeah.
I saw you tweet that guy that does the announcers late last night.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then I went over to the PVR, and I made a point. I'm sure I'll be out watching the game, probably on the Canadian broadcast, but I did make a point of recording the ABC broadcast. It'll be interesting, and I believe that's the first time that the Jets have ever been on national television in the United States. So all eyes on the Jets and Stars tomorrow night as the lone game in the National Hockey League. Of course, tonight we've got Game 6 between the Panthers and the Toronto Maple Leafs down in Fort Lauderdale. I'm sure we'll touch on that with John Shannon for a little bit later on. And listen, we'll hear from Connor Hellebuck and Scott Arniel and some of the others. Listen, we know the pressure that's been on Helly. The fact that he played very, very well in Game 2, and it wasn't like he was terrible in the games in Dallas. Far from it, but couple that went in that you'd like to have back, and the bottom line was Jake Ottinger got the better of him in those two games. He had to be very good to match Jake Ottinger last night, despite how well the team played in front of him. And sometimes that makes it difficult for a goalie to really get into a groove. I thought Remis, the biggest save of the entire night was 20 seconds into the second period. When we're still talking about a scoreless game, and Hellebuck robbing Thomas Harley with the leather in front of the net on a bit of a defensive breakdown. And, I think that gave the team a lot of confidence that their goalie was right there with them playing at that level. Now, obviously, they got that first goal, and then they never really looked back. And, the games, that game looked a lot different than what we'd seen, in those games against Dallas. And they're going to need to find a way to be that same team that we saw last night, without the benefit of the last change, with maybe some more difficult matchups. But bottom line, Connor Hellebuck needs to be the Connor Hellebuck that we saw last night to give his team a chance to get this series, game back to series back to Winnipeg for a seventh and deciding game. Hellebuck, obviously, he was one of the stars last night. Nikolai Ehlers, one of the stars of the game, a brilliant game for Ehlers, who was making things happen and was dangerous all night. Mark Scheifele got the third star. I don't mind that. The one guy that I think we need to talk about, the Michael Remis, was Neil Pionk. Another monster game by Pionk on the blue line. Ended up chipping in with 2 assists as well. But Pionk continues to raise his level of play in the playoffs, going up against the top line on the Dallas Stars. And listen, it's easy. It's actually hard to single out a few guys, as we'll hear from Scott Arniel, because everybody had a hand in that victory. But I thought the Pionky Tonk man was a beast last night on the Winnipeg Jet blue line, and a lot of his teammates followed along.
Yeah, it is the Pionk and Sandberg pair with big minutes. Sandberg leading all defensemen 24-27. Neil Pionk 23-07. Had finished with 6 hits and 2 blocks in addition to those 2 assists that you mentioned. And I really like Pionk's game. He skates well. He's not afraid to throw the body around. He was getting in the corners, mixing it up. You really noticed Neil Pionk out there. So you've seen him elevate his game like he did in the Game 7 against St. Louis. And it seems like everyone with their backs against the wall last night were able to elevate their game and get past the Dallas Stars in Game 5 and survive. We'll see if they can do it in Game 6, but I think one game at a time, if they keep playing the way they have now the last 2 games, certainly they should be able to force, or will put them in a very good position to force a Game 7 here on Monday. and what a holiday weekend that would be. So, a number of very solid performers. And how about Nikolai Ehlers? I mentioned this yesterday. He came into the season with 4 playoff goals in 40 or so games. He's got 5 in this series. So I think if anyone was doubting Nikolai Ehlers' capability to perform in the playoffs, he's definitely shown in this series that he's a playoff performer. And just nice play on that, taking it to the net. He's done that so many times this series. Finally goes far side and it's in, and he had a really nice rush. I think it was in the first period where he went wide and tried to go up high, but that one was stopped by Ottinger. So Nikolai Ehlers, what a boost he's been for the team since returning from injury.
Yeah, listen, I know there's a lot of people that were banging the drum that Nikolai Ehlers is not a playoff performer. Listen, the guy was hurt for the start of the series against St. Louis, came back in, and is now being the star player that we've seen it so many times throughout the regular season. This is what they needed from him, and he has been delivering. But again, I thought just about every single player to a man stepped up with one of their best performances last night. They absolutely had to have it. We said, who was going to be the guy that, will go out and make that play, can score that goal? Hellebuck stood up and didn't let anything in, so that was a hell of a great start. But both with Scheifele being opportunistic on the opening goal and Nikolai Ehlers, they got the offense that they needed to, and a huge part of that was finally winning the special teams battle. So all in it. I'm seeing the chat is going off right now. Cruiser24, playoff Pionk got that dog in him. And I did see, was it Dom Zappia? We want a rematch, Pionk versus McDavid. I always make a point of bringing that up when I'm talking to the guys in Edmonton. But again, no thoughts of the Edmonton Oilers right now. The thoughts totally focused on Game 6 tomorrow night, Dallas, Texas, American Airlines Center, to see if the Jets can regain their home ice advantage, force a Game 7, and get this series back to the peg for what would be an absolute scene, Reem. We know how legendary the first Game 7 at home in Winnipeg Jets history went a couple weeks ago. And I think everyone is ready to get back there if the Jets can get the job done. And I got to tell you, I'm feeling very, very optimistic that tomorrow night is a night that the Winnipeg Jets can find a way to win, keep this season alive, and give hockey fans, not just Jets or Stars fans, what they want. And that is Game 7 Stanley Cup playoff action in the best atmosphere in the National Hockey League come playoff time.
Yeah, the second round, I think it's been a bit of a letdown compared to the first one where you had the 2 Game 7s. You had some great series. And you have the division winner Vegas Golden Knights going out, the East leading Washington Capitals getting eliminated last night. And now we'll see what happens with the division leading Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. But I think the mood around here after Game 4 was, Jets will never come back down from 3-1. We're citing off, all teams down 3-1.
Depends who you talk to.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting to that. Teams win 3, but we kept saying, hey, can you win one game at home? Yeah, and can the Jets win one game on the road? Well, they haven't this playoffs, but as we saw with the power play, the dam has to crack at some point. They played well enough in Game 4 to have a victory. Game 3 was, on a way to being a very good game until a controversial goal really turned the game, which was referenced last night. And look, maybe they can replicate this performance in Dallas. Well, I'm sure the players are very sick of being asked, well, why can't you do this on the road? What does it feel like not having a win on the road this year? So I'm sure they want to shove it down everyone's throats and force a Game 7 as well.
Yeah, so listen, tough night for all the people that said that this series was over. It is most definitely not over. And as we mentioned, tough night for people that question Nikolai Ehlers' ability to step up and help his team at a crucial moment in the Stanley Cup playoffs. He did it again last night and has been such a huge addition to this lineup since he returned. You mentioned the chant. I mean, just before we get into hearing from some of the players. So last night, if you missed it, Mark Scheifele thought the Jets had a second goal. It was very clearly gloved in. The Jets didn't complain too much about it. It was a pretty obvious call. But credit to the fellas at 315, 316, 317, that corner of the arena immediately started the should have kicked it chant. I was in 312 last night. It immediately spread around the upper bowl. I would imagine the lower bowl got into it as well. One of the sharpest, wittiest, and quickest chants in the history of Jets 2.0. And honestly, for so many reasons, Reem, I was talking about this with Dusty earlier. I think that's like a minimum, a top 3 Jets 2.0 chant, considering the circumstances of the series and how it came out. I'm still laughing about it. And well done, 300 level, and that corner continuing to bring it and have some good laughs at the same time.
Yeah, I heard it in the press box. It was an absolutely incredible chant. And yeah, Mark Shafley goes, gloves the puck, and I was like, oh, did he? You saw the review, and it was pretty obviously hit his glove and in. And I joked, well, he should have tried to bank it in off Ottinger, and then they could have said Ottinger propelled the puck into the net. But the crowd up there, as you mentioning, stepping up in a big way with the should have kicked it chant, taking the words right out of my mouth. And everyone joined in. You could hear it pretty clearly from up there. I don't know if the players heard it or not. I don't know if the officials heard it or the NHL. It did go viral very quickly on social media. I know Scott Oak mentioned it on the broadcast as well, but very timely, quick, witty. You had some, you had a callback to earlier in the series. Very well done.
No doubt about it. Hey, shout out to Nick Lee-Imagn. What a game last night. Good to see you, Huss. Yes, got a chance to see Nick. The vibes were high in 312 last night, but it was great to see him, and I'm sure he had some great fun with some calls on Top Line last night. And listen, I got to give a shout out to our pal T. Konopoli. I just dropped a nice super chat in. That win was for my pops, WHA and Jets 1.0 season ticket holder, who now has the best seat in the house with my mom. R.I.P. Pops. T. Kona, I know we mentioned earlier on this, our condolences to you and your family. But I love love what you're thinking about right now for your dad and, wherever he was with your mom watching that game. And any Jet fans that have left us, they had a smile on their face, and hopefully they're getting ready for a little more Jet magic in game number 6 on the road. But we all got your back here at WST, Paulie. Thanks again. Thanks again for that. All right, let's hear from Arnie and a few of the players from last night. Before we do that, shout out to the guys down at Rolly's Transfer. I know they're fired up after that big win last night. If you have a move planned coming up, folks, lean on our friends at Rolly's. Family owned and operated for over 60 years. And the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. Head over to Rollies.com. You'll see in the top right corner, you can request an estimate. Put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. And then let them know when and where you're planning on moving and what needs to go. They'll turn it around with a great quote for you to lock you in for the white glove treatment that Rollies is famous for, now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Rollies. Find out more, request an estimate today over at Rollies.com. All smiles today on the show and around the streets of Winnipeg, despite this garbage weather for the long weekend. And speaking of smiles, if you need to get that smile looking 10 out of 10, head on over and see Dr. Terry and his great staff at the St. Vital Dental Center, serving generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans. And now with a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's with state-of-the-art equipment and free parking, conveniently located right behind the building. For all of your dental needs, from cleanings, from checkups, all the way to things like dental implants, St. Vital Dental Center has you covered. And you can find out more, make an appointment to pop in and see Terry and the gang there at stviteldental.ca. It was supposed to be nicer out. I mean, I guess we had all that summer weather earlier when we were like the hottest city in the world. Not so much this week, but hey, you can't get the taste of summer by popping into your local Manitoba liquor marts and grabbing the new club pack for the Canadian Club, ready to drink cocktails. You got 4 of the Canadian Club and ginger ale, 4 of the new citrus smash, and 4 of the new half and half, which is basically an Arnold Palmer half tea and lemonade with Canada's iconic Canadian whiskey, Canadian Club. And it is on sale right now throughout the month of May at your local Manitoba Liquor Mart. So when you're stocking up for the long weekend, don't miss the great deal on the new Canadian Club Pack with their 3 new ready-to-drink cocktails. Of course, it's all available along with Canadian Club at your local Manitoba Liquor Marts. And listen, the fans last night in the whiteout certainly gave that boost to the Winnipeg Jets. You're looking to boost your summer, getting your camper ready, getting your boat ready. Well, don't forget, shop at local and stop wasting money paying more at the big box stores, because Donnie and the gang at Manitoba Battery have you covered with the best prices in town, the best service in town, and the only battery specialist with 2 locations in Winnipeg, Logan Avenue, and of course the new spot on Dovercourt Drive in the South End for all your battery needs. Skip the drive to the big box store. Get the best service in town and the best prices with Manitoba Battery. And even better, we know you're busy. They'll deliver your batteries to you for free with any purchase over $60. It is just that easy. For all your battery needs, shop local, save money, Manitoba Battery. Online at manitobabattery.com, or give them a call for free delivery and tell them the boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. All right, we are going to welcome in John Shannon in just a moment. I tell you what, after we have John on, we'll get into, we'll hear from Connor Hellebuyck, who I thought was very focused. We didn't get that same, let's put it this way. When he came out for the first star, this was not a celebration like we would see in the regular season. This was an individual that was still incredibly focused. Waved to the fans, gave up the stick, back in, knowing that there is still plenty more work to do as they get on that charter. But John's going to join us right now. This segment is brought to you by Ben Moss. Ben Moss is proudly Canadian-owned and operated with history dating back more than 100 years. 3 locations in Winnipeg, Polo Park Shopping Center, St. Vital Center, and Kildonan Place. And Ben Moss is committed to customer satisfaction. Check out a large selection of Canadian mined diamonds, lab-grown diamonds, and mined diamonds available with payment plans to suit your needs. For more information, see them in store or check them out online at benmoss.com. Ben Moss, shine bright. The Jets were shining bright last night in the whiteout. Let's welcome in the one and only John Shannon. You can check him out on the 100% Hockey Podcast and contributing on Jet Broadcast at 680 CJOB. John, great to have you back on the program. What a performance by the fellas last night with their backs up against the wall.
We shouldn't be surprised, Andrew. Really, we've seen this all season long. I mean, this is what the Winnipeg Jets have become this season. You know, and Scott talked about it at the airport before they left. You can list the amount of games, whether it's the late game in Dallas, whether it's the back-to-back Florida games, whether it was that Boston-Washington trip. This team has come to play when it's had to. And in fact, game 1, Ottinger beat Hellebuyck. That's a fact. Nobody in Winnipeg will like to hear it. In game 4, Ottinger beat Hellebuyck. So had the goaltending been equal in both of those games, we might be talking about a Jet series win in 5 games.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I can't deny it. I mean, I went to Dallas. I was in both of those games, and we kind of left game 4 going like, how the heck did they lose that game? But, Ottinger made a few big saves. I think that first one that got past Helly was one that he'd like to have back. And, that when these two very good teams are playing in this sort of series, John, the margin between winning and losing is very, very slim. And I think they came back disappointed that they were down 3-1. But this had no resemblance to getting blown out the way they had on the road earlier in the St. Louis series. This was, an unfortunate result of 2 games, knowing that if they come back, play the way they can and did last night, they'd earn themselves the opportunity to get another crack at Dallas and set up a winner-take-all Game 7 here in the Peg.
Yeah, and I think that the way they played, certainly in Game 4 and certainly last night, does tell you that they can play on the road, and that the demons that they had against St. Louis will not exist. The Winnipeg Jets match up better against the Dallas Stars than they did St. Louis. That's a fact. That's exact. And that's why I think a lot of people, including me, I think we were surprised that it was 3-1 coming home. It shouldn't have been. The Jets now are in a position, and that, that razor's edge that you're talking about, Andrew, this is now not about tactics. This is now not about coaching, in my opinion, because I think both Pete and Scott can only do so much. This is about the will to win. This is about the intangibles that make teams better. And we saw those intangibles in that third period in Game 7 against St. Louis. And I suspect we're going to see 60 minutes of intangibles tomorrow night in Dallas.
I talked yesterday about listen, I thought we were going to see a team that was going to play their best, was going to play with the desperation that you would expect from a team that knows that their season is over if they didn't play well, if they didn't win. And we saw that. But we also talked about it was a time for some guys, we can talk about line combinations all we want. Individual players have to step up with their best and make plays. And, not only were they able to do that and finally get some work on the special teams, but I thought from a defensive perspective, every single play, like when the Jets are at their best, teams are, like the Dallas Stars were last night, held to 7 or 8 shots for half a hockey game last night. And you saw the commitment to every single square inch of ice last night. And sooner or later, even with Ottinger playing at the level he was, you had to feel like the Jets were going to find a way. And in typical playoff fashion, it wasn't a beautiful goal. It was something ripped off a defenseman at end that got that team started, but they never let off their commitment to the defensive structure that helped Connor Hellebuck get his second shutout of the series.
Well, I'm going to plagiarize myself, Andrew. And I said this morning on CGOB, last I checked, ugly wins count as much as pretty wins, particularly in the playoffs, particularly when put the puck at the net. Something good might happen. And I think that's exactly what Mark did in that scenario. And I think we'll see that a lot more in Game 6. Dallas is going to be a different team at home, I think. And I think we got the indication of that in the third period with the skirmish in front of the benches with what Jamie Benn did to Scheifele. That to me was not anything to do with what happened in Game 5. That to me was just setting up what happens in Game 6. And so I think it's going to be a trench war tomorrow night. I think it's going to be a lot more physical tomorrow night. And I think that the expectation is that this Winnipeg Jets team can respond to that, because in previous times when their backs have been against the wall, and I know that's a cliche, they have responded well. They have done what they've needed to do. The only issue now is, can they do it away from home? And the bottom line is they have to. And that to me that's the difference now. They have to win tomorrow night. This isn't like Game 6 in St. Louis. We're basically talking about a team that now is going to play 2 Game 7s.
Yeah, well, hopefully they'll have that opportunity to do that if they can get this win. You mentioned Ben last night, and of course a lot of people around here are hot for what basically was a sucker punch on Mark Scheifele. Still,
yep,
absolutely inconceivable that the Jets ended up shorthanded after that, but whatever. You move on and deal with it. It's funny you bring that up, because I actually think that if this series gets a little more physical, in a lot of ways, that I think plays into the hands of the Jets. I mean, the Jets have been, they had to survive a St. Louis team, which is light years more physical than the Dallas Stars. And when Dallas is kind of doing their thing, they don't normally lean on that. And as far as Jamie Benn goes, the only thing he's done in this entire series is sucker punch Mark Scheifele and take a bunch of stupid penalties along with Tyler Seguin that's given the Jets opportunities. And finally last night, John, they won the special teams battle and made Dallas pay for a couple of those penalties. And that's going to be incredibly important to continue that trend, because they haven't won games when they've been on the wrong side of that special teams battle in this series so far. And
darn well that Dallas is going to take penalties. That when you talk about them not being a tough team, they do take penalties still. And it does get them in trouble. And it really hadn't gotten them in trouble in the first 4 games. Just because, for one reason or another, the Jets' power play wasn't very effective. And you're right, better last night. I think it still can be better. What was nice to see last night, too, from that power play perspective, Andrew, was it was both units, right? It wasn't just Unit 1 doing all the work. It was, Ehlers on one goal and Namestnikov on the other. And so I've always believed on this team, I think there's a really good, healthy competition between both units. I think that there's that the gumption of the second unit thinking that, they're not the big fancy guys, but if they go to the net, they can score. And that's exactly what they did last night. And I suspect we'll see that again. And it makes you wonder at times, whether it's Scott or Davis Payne, if they want to give the second unit a few more chances, or at least split the ice time closer down the middle, rather than giving the second unit just 40 seconds.
Just on the topic of the power play, which, by all measures, certainly by their gaudy standards, has really struggled throughout the postseason. John, it was in the late second period, still in a 1-0 game, where the Jets got a power play and they didn't score. But I was in the concourse talking with a bunch of people afterwards, and everyone thought the same thing, that the power play on that opportunity looked as good and as dangerous as it's had at any point. And while they didn't score, I think in some ways it gave some real hope that can be a difference maker. And lo and behold, boom, 2 penalties early on. Nikolai Ehlers scores. You mentioned the momentum, I think, from that carrying over to the second line. And all of a sudden you score twice. And we cannot forget about the penalty kill last night, who was perfect on 4 chances. And really some of the best PK units we've seen throughout the playoffs. Dallas didn't really have a lot. Hellebuck made a few saves, but, this was no shooting gallery at all. It wasn't all left on the goaltender by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh, and in fact, when you were talking about Hellebuck coming out for the 3 stars and him staying in character more than anything else, I almost wondered last night in watching it, was there a little bit of guilt because, he didn't work near as hard as the other guy. Ottinger had a much heavier workload than Hellebuck did in that game. And what Hellebuck did, what Hellebuck was supposed to do, stop the simple stuff. There wasn't very much traffic in front of him last night, which surprised me a great deal. They didn't shoot enough, Dallas being, they didn't shoot enough, which surprised me. And you do have to wonder, as they go into Game 6, what the video presented to them last night on the charter home and how much they have to alter what they did in order to be successful. I'm one of those guys. I love the lines that the Jets have, particularly the top 3. And I think you play with your strength. And I know that Scott's concerned about the matchups in Dallas tomorrow night, but I'm starting the night with Scheifele's line intact, Namestnikov's line intact, and obviously Adam Lowry's line intact. I'm not changing a darn thing, and I'm being proactive rather than reactive.
Well, and to be honest, I'm with you on all those 3 lines, and I thought Morgan Barron continues to be effective more and more every single time he's on the ice. Brandon Tanev's never going to be a dangerous, really offensive player. But, when we talk about that physicality, the tenacity, the great checking, along with Alex Iafallo, 1 to 12, you can go down and look at every single player that simply did their job, took care of their responsibilities. A couple of the offensive players stepped up and got the power play going. That's the blueprint to get this series back to Game 7. But as you mentioned, John, they haven't had the success on the road, albeit 2 games that were eminently winnable. They just didn't go their way. When you look at tomorrow night's matchup, what are the keys to you for Winnipeg finding a way, other than, I think for the first time in this series, the road goalie needs to be the better of the 2 at American Airlines Center?
Well, you stole the lead. Nice going. Hellebuck's point number 1. I think Hellebuck's point number 2 and point number 3. Then they have to win the special teams battle. And so if Connor Hellebuck goes toe-to-toe with Jake Ottinger and the Jets win the special teams battle, then we're seeing Game 7. You know, that to me is what this is going to be all about. You know, this in the end, this has not really been a 5-on-5 series. This has been who's scored more on the power play and who's been able to kill penalties better in those particular games. And then nobody, I mean, there's 2 guys on the list, but nobody can let in a whiffy goal. Ottinger's let in 1 goal. It just so happened the goal he let in that was bad, Granlund scored 3. And you know, Connor can't let in a bad goal. And that, particularly the first one of the game, that to me is the biggest challenge. And if he makes the first couple of saves, Andrew, all bets are off. This could be a really successful Jets night tomorrow night. But to me, the pressure is actually, I think, bigger on Hellebuck than ever before because of the consequences of not winning Game 6.
Yeah, no, listen.
By the way, you talked about Brendan Tanev. Here, this guy is not much bigger than me. And with all that stuff going on in front of the bench, who's the first guy to jump in? Didn't you just love it? Seriously. I mean, that might have been, I know the power play goals were fun and Ehlers doing what he's doing, but that was as fun for me watching him jump into the fray, protect, as if Mark Scheifele needs to be protected. That to me that's the sign of a real team. That's the sign of everything that's why this guy got brought back right there. And I love it. I think it was fantastic.
You know, he had great energy in Dallas too. I mean, you know, I think the first game we were in the lower bowl, the second game we were in the upper bowl, and we saw Tanev running around in the first period at least. And we comment just on how, like, I mean, it's not like he's ever not engaged, but I mean, really trying to put his stamp on every single shift that they're out there. And again, this isn't about, you know, beautiful tic-tac-toe passing plays and world-class offense. It is about, in a lot of ways, John, setting that tone that the Winnipeg Jets play in all 3 zones. And I think the fourth line really has been a big part of it. But again, I really feel like the lead of Morgan Barron on that line. And now with Iafallo playing there at times, although we've seen him everywhere in the lineup right now. I mean, it's great. You quickly on the matchups. It seems like Scott Arniel will play Adam Lowry and Adam Lowry's line against the Finns at all, whenever they can. Yeah. Pete DeBoer was getting away from that. How important will it be for, in all likelihood, the Scheifele line, as you mentioned, and potentially the Nemetsnikov line to hold their own against that line? Because you look at those 2 games, I mean, they sort of got away. I mean, it was 1 period in Game 1 for Mikko Rantanen with, a couple shifts with the fourth line. So it wasn't even that lineup. And then obviously we know what happened with Granlund in game number 4. It's a pretty significant challenge, and it's not just going to be on the shoulders of Adam Lowry and his line mates to keep those guys in check.
See, the thing for me on this one too is I want to know where Neil Pionka and Dylan Sandberg are playing, because I think they become such a vital part of a 5-man unit.
Yeah.
In combating what the Stars go through and what they deliver. I mean, one of the I watched a little bit of it last night, but one of the stories that isn't really being told is Neil Pionk's having a hell of a lot of fun with Wyatt Johnston. And you can see those 2 guys going at it. There was one face wash that lasted, I think, about 40 seconds. Right in front of Hellebuck. And then at the other end of the ice, Wyatt Johnston was trying to ride him like a cowboy. And that's where I think that pairing is so vitally important. That's not a knock at Morrissey and DeMello, but I think if this team is going to be successful, I think Pionk and Sandberg are going to play a much more important role defensively and in the matchup game against a Dallas team that, in many ways, I think their top 3 lines really do compare well to the Jets. And particularly if Robertson and Johnston are playing at a certain level. That to me is going to be a fun matchup to watch as well. If now I think what happened last night is Pete's probably going to be in a little bit of a quandary today and tomorrow morning whether to go 11-7 or 12-6. Do they need some more depth at forward as opposed to a seventh defenseman? Because Miro Heiskanen I'm not really as much worried about him now that we know he can play if I'm the Dallas coach. And so give him more ice time and bring back Colin Blackwell or Oscar Beck in order to play 4 full lines against the Jets, because we know the Jets are going to play 4 full lines.
John Shannon is with us. Check out the 100% Hockey Podcast wherever you get your favorite pods. And, of course,
Joel Quenneville today, Andrew. Joel Quenneville.
Q, back in the league. Yeah. Can't wait for that. Hey, just before we go, I've got to ask you, what's it been like in and around the GTA since game number 5? And do you have any expectations that this Toronto Maple Leafs team can show significantly more than they did at home and be in this game? Because that was dreadful. I can't remember. This team's taken a lot of heat over the years. That was next level with what they put forth and the blowback from Leaf fans and media.
Half the city's catatonic, and the other is curled up in a ball. So there are a lot of nervous people in Southern Ontario. There's no doubt about that. The one thing I would say is that was as embarrassing a loss that I've seen, in 15 years in Toronto. And if they don't come out tonight in the first 5 minutes and try to dominate, I think you got a real understanding of the character of this hockey club. We talk about the character of the Jets, and the character of the Jets proved something last night. Tonight, it's on the Maple Leafs to prove they have character. And I think there's still a lot of people asking the question is, do they have enough character, and who's going to be the leader? The Toronto Maple Leafs do not have an Adam Lowry. The Toronto Maple Leafs, their closest guy to a character guy now is Brandon Tanev's brother. Chris Tanev's that guy. And you wonder from a defenseman's position, can he help his teammates get through this? But right now, Marner, Matthews, Tavares, and to a lesser extent Nylander, because I think Nylander's really been probably as effective as any forward, and Matthew Nyes, there's a lot of question marks. And they better deliver tonight, or there's going to be a ton of hearses driving down the 401.
John, thanks so much for the time. I can't wait to hear Q. Just give people a quick plug for the 100% Hockey Podcast, both this episode and everything else that's on the feed. Yeah, we had Jim Montgomery talking about the St. Louis series on Wednesday. It was informative. He's a good talker. It's on every platform, same platforms that this great show is on in the podcast world. And Joel Quenneville went up about an hour ago. He's excited to be back in the game. I think he's learned his lessons. He was not afraid to talk about the issues. Not afraid to talk about that. The day he got hired, he phoned Kyle Beach and talked to him about it. So it's up, and hope people can be illuminated and in some way enjoy the conversation that Darren Millard and I had with Joel Quenneville. Looking forward to it. If you're with us live on YouTube right now, Remis has just put the link to the YouTube channel in the chat. So why don't you everyone give that a click and give that a sub. There's some great stuff there. We'll also put the link in the description of this video if you want to find it a little bit later on. 100% Hockey with John. John, have a great May-long weekend. Hopefully we'll be talking about the Jets and the Stars playing on Monday night, and who knows, maybe
what's your gut? Come on, what's your gut? What's your gut?
I believe in this team. I think we can. I put it this way: I'm making plans for Monday night in downtown Winnipeg. I think we're going to see 7.
Well, it's all on 37.
Well, as I said after I left the building, in Dallas after Game 4, and I said I knew a lot of people were killing him, and I get it, but I will ride to the end with 37. He was brilliant last night. I think he puts his best performance maybe of the playoffs forward, and they might need it.
I know you got to go, but anybody in the last week on any platform, on any show that suggested that Eric Comrie was going to play doesn't know anything about this hockey club, doesn't know anything about the character of the people involved, the coach, the manager, the player. This is Connor Hellebuck's team. End of story.
Yeah, and it's time for him to step up and show everybody else why the MVP chants continue to rain down at Canada Life Center, and give us a chance to do that one more time in this series, and maybe get a crack at the Oilers next week. John, have a great long weekend. Thanks again.
Cheers.
There it is, John Shannon at J Shannon NHL on X. And again, click on that link and give a sub to John over at the 100% Hockey Podcast. You will not regret it. Want to thank Sean and Let's Do It Travel for jumping on board with us. Man, as I mentioned, he helped out big time with a very quick trip to Dallas for games 3 and 4. And that level of expertise can help you with some of your most important decisions when it comes to travel. For instance, those amazing but very crucial 1-week holidays where you're going to an all-inclusive. You want to make that right choice. Certainly if you're doing a destination wedding, everything needs to be perfect, and you might just not want to go that one on your own. Or maybe that dream sports trip that you've been putting on that bucket list and looking ahead into the future to make happen. Give Sean a follow at Let's Do It Travel WPG on Instagram, and check out the site at letsdoittravel.com. Sean will help you make the best decisions, stretch your travel dollar further, and get the most out of your valuable vacation time when you do leave Winnipeg. Again, on Instagram at Let's Do It Travel WPG. Throws up great deals all the time on his story and whatnot. Must follow. And if you do have travel needs, he's waiving the booking fees for WST listeners. So make sure you tell him that you found out about him over at Winnipeg Sports Talk. Hey, listen, we've got a big, long weekend coming up. The weather doesn't look particularly good, but that's okay. We're focused in on the Winnipeg Jets and the Dallas Stars. But guess what? Blue Bomber training camp continuing, and it won't be long before we're at Princess Auto Stadium cheering on the blue and gold in the Canadian Football League. Of course, Princess Auto, proud sponsors of Winnipeg Sports Talk, the Winnipeg Jets, Whiteout Mania, the Bombers, and so many other important parts of our sporting community. Princess Auto has 3 locations to serve you with the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, and Brandon out in Westman. And don't forget, if you are in there, you can also pick up whiteout signs free for Jet fans at Princess Auto right now. And you can always shop online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. We're waiting. The Jets can wait to think about fishing or golfing. They got to focus in on the Dallas Stars. But with summer just around the corner, I cannot wait to get out to Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge. If you're looking for a world-class fly-in fishing experience where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg with world-class fishing and even more world-class hospitality, the Aikens experience is what it is all about. Find out more at aikenslake.com on availability and options for the 2025 fishing season. And make sure to give them a follow on all of their social channels at Aikens Lake. And as I mentioned, the Suit Boys, Michael Remis and Connor Rabchak, killed it last night with an exciting post-game reaction show from Canada Life Center. Check that out on the channel. It also was a pretty darn good ad for F Apparel because both of the guys were looking very sharp with their custom suits from F Apparel. And of course, F, now 15 years in business here in Winnipeg, just celebrating their anniversary as the go-to spot for custom men's clothing. Suits, chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, tons of menswear accessories, and great deals. Special deals for wedding parties. If you are in a wedding party or getting married, make sure to talk to the guys with a special discount when the fellas get their suits for the big day. And still time to take advantage of their grad special where all 2025 grads will get a free shirt and tie with the purchase of a new suit. F Apparel, 190 Smith Street downtown. check them out online and make an appointment at that's EPHapparel.com. All right, Hammer's going to join us in a few minutes, but let's hear a little bit from the coach and a few of the players from last night. Here is Scott Arniel on the big win last night that earned his team an opportunity to get back on the plane for Game 6.
That was everybody. That was our whole roster stepping up and knowing what the challenge was in front of us and putting their best game on the ice. And it was everybody, boards, D, goaltender. It was everybody stepping up and not wanting to be eliminated tonight. And that's you could see it right from the puck drop, the opening shift, and we didn't take our foot off the gas.
All right. So there's Scott Arniel. This team needed to step up with one of their best performances of the entire year, and they did exactly that. And it's not new. And that's part of the reason why, as we talked about yesterday on the program, this was an opportunity for the Jets to do as they've done all year long. Rise to the occasion. And they did it in spades. Arniel talked about how the Jets have been able to rise to the occasion repeatedly throughout this season and did it last night in their most important game of the year.
Our leadership in our room is a big one. Our guys, just you could feel it, you could hear it from this morning until tonight. Guys just knowing that they had to be at their best tonight. I think that we've done a good job of, putting stuff behind us and focusing on what the next challenge is, and whether that was going from the last game to tonight's game, or whether that was going from your first shift in the first period to your third shift in the second period. It was being consistent and doing those things that are going to help us have success. And guys just recognized they each had a job to do, and they went out and did it.
All right, one more from Coach Arniel. Listen, the team came out and played their asses off in the first, but Jake Ottinger played a hell of a first period. He talked about the way that they played in the first and not getting discouraged with not being up after 20.
Oh, I saw their goaltender make some outstanding saves. He did. He really did. And then obviously we had some breakdowns in the second, and Helly was there for us too. So I thought both goalies were really, really good. But that's part of what we talk about, is that stay in the moment. Don't worry about what the end result would be. Let's just keep putting the work in. Really liked how we had our strong first, and that helped us kind of have momentum going into the second. Dallas had a push on there in the second for stretches, but at the end of the day, we stayed with our game, and that's what's going to have to. We're going to have to do a carbon copy of that, on Saturday. Exact same thing's going to have to happen.
Right, so there's Coach Arniel after the game last night. Now, as John just mentioned, a ton of pressure on Connor Hellebuck going into last night's game. Having to step up and be at his best, which he was, with a great team in front of him that certainly helped him out. And Hellebuck, as I mentioned afterwards, seemed to be all business. Certainly came out and did the lap, but there was no big typical Helly first star celebrations last night. It was all business. He spoke to the media after the loss in Game 4. Also got in front of a microphone last night after the win. Here's Hellebuck on keeping their season alive and getting it back to Dallas.
Felt good. That was a great team win. It took everyone, and we're gonna have to do it again.
If you win Game 6, you got to feel good about your chances coming back here the way you've played, correct?
Let's just focus on Game 6. We got one more game ahead of us. We got to prepare the right way, get a recovery in, and bring that same game.
Biggest game of the year. What went right?
We had everyone. Everyone was doing the same things. They're going to have a big pushback next game, so we got to make sure our details are right, and we bring it. Our backs are against the wall, and it's time to play Jet hockey.
Is a very focused, all-business Connor Hellebuck after the game last night. A 22-save shutout, highlighted by maybe the biggest save he made all game early in the second period in a 0-0 game, stopping Thomas Harley point blank by flashing the leather. Here's what Helly had to say about that Harley save.
Yeah, I thought he was going to tip it, so I had kind of a bit of a blocker reaction, and then he pulled it back, and he might have fanned down a little bit, but he tried to go glove side. I wouldn't do that.
All right, there's Connor Hellebuck. Hammer's going to join us in just a second. Do you want to talk and hear from the leader, though, of this hockey team, Adam Lowry, who spoke after the game last night. Looking forward to the opportunity to get to Dallas, and he discussed just how the Winnipeg Jets, to a man, were able to elevate their game considering the circumstances last night.
Desperation, I think, all year we've been a great team at home. I just thought start to finish, the structure, the way we wanted to play, we were quick with our decisions, we were quick with the reads, quick supporting the puck all over the ice, and it was nice to get a bounce on the first one, and then I felt like we kept our legs throughout, and the power play got a couple big goals for us. After looking back at the games 3 and 4 and seeing the things that we were doing to ourselves, hurting ourselves within our team game, feeding into their transition, feeding into their offense, and we talked about if we could get back to defending how we have all year, if we could get back to that fast transition, good puck support all over the ice, we'd put ourselves and Hell in a much better position to be successful. And, I thought we did a real good job of getting that, and I think that goes down to the belief in our structure, belief in the coach's strategy, and the belief in one another that when the chips are down, guys are going to show up, and it's only one game though. We got to do the same. We got to win a road game. We haven't played well on the road at all this playoffs, so no better time than now to start. And like we've done all year, we're going to review this one, find the areas that we need to improve on, and go and try and implement that in Game 6.
Get back to Dallas, find a way to win, and get this series back to the whiteout for Game 7. Sounds like a plan. Let's welcome in our boy Jeff Hamilton. Lots to talk about with Hammer today on WST. This segment brought to you by your Prairie Toyota dealers, who want to remind you to get in and go with the Toyota Tundra. Quality that means it has the strength to take on any challenge, off-road or hauling a heavy load, and backed by the peace of mind knowing it's a Toyota. So take the road less traveled in comfort, room for teammates, friends, and gear. And can we talk about how good this Toyota Tundra looks? Anywhere it goes, the Tundra is turning heads. From $154 weekly for 60 months at 5.19% APR with $66.99 down. Hybrid also available. Visit shoptoyota.ca. Jeff Hamilton joins us now. And Hammer, what a game last night. Listen, that's a desperate hockey team that, probably felt they could have been in a better situation, but they were down 3-1. They had to play one of their best games. They did it, and got to think that gives them some confidence going in to get a better result after two tough losses in Dallas in Games 3 and 4 of the series.
I don't think anyone should be surprised, Huss, by that result last night. One of the last things we talked about in the interview last week is that the Jets seem to find their best when the backs are up against the wall. You could even make the argument here, as ridiculous as it sounds, and it will sound as it comes out of my mouth, perhaps the Jets have the Dallas Stars exactly where they want them right now. That is the ultimate silver lining for Jets fans at this moment. But that some of that confidence is certainly crept back into the players' games, into the fans' voices following the 4-0 win last night, a convincing win by all measures. And when you start doing a little bit of revisionist history, Huss, you can start looking at some of the losses the Jets had, even some on the road against Dallas that, one bounce here or there, and it goes in their favor. So, yeah, it's not an ideal situation. You still very much have a tall task in front of you, including earning your first road playoff win in the last, what would be in 10 opportunities, seeing that they're 0-9 at this point. Simple math would suggest as much. There are some things to kind of grasp onto here. And I think, you look at the games here, Huss, the Jets, I think it's become a little bit quite clear, to be honest with you, to me, that the Stars, and this is going to sound equally kind of dumb, can't really hang with the Jets. Like, when they're 5-on-5, when they're doing their thing, it feels like they can't hang on to their speed. And there's been times where officiating has kind of muscled their way into the narrative of the games. And I think when you consider all those things, this isn't defense. I'm not defending the Jets here. If anything, I'm just trying to suggest that, what was a 3-game hill, has a mountain, you could argue, has now become a 2-game hill. And at this point, whether you want to suggest you have momentum, I'm with kind of Nikolai Ehlers in his post-game comments. I don't think there is a lot of momentum you can shift from one game to the next, but at this point, the Jets need to hang on to that feeling of do or die, because when they are up against do or die, they usually do. At least that's what we've seen from the Jets all season and this playoff so far.
I fully expect the best road performance of the playoffs so far in game number 6. And to your point, I mean, why would we be surprised if we see that? Because they have done this repeatedly. Like, this is who they are. A team that has risen to the occasion, a team that won big games all year long, and leaning on game 7 and a hell of a tough series against St. Louis, came up with, one of the most incredible series of plays in an overtime win that involved that crazy comeback in game number 7. And all of that plays into it. Adam Lowry said at the end of game 7, there is no quit in this team. Vlad Nemetsnikov said the exact same thing after last night's game. And I really do believe there's an internal level of confidence and belief that this team has that, the game can go a number of different ways, but I have no doubt that we'll see the best version of the Jets on the road in this game coming up tomorrow night in Dallas.
Well, I think a lot of fans, Huss, to that point, hope, pray, if you will, that 37 will be included in that group, having their best effort on the road, right? I mean, to steal John Shannon's final words in your last interview, it will be up to Connor Hellebuck in a lot of different ways. And, it will be up to Jake Ottinger in a lot of ways. It will be an ultimate goalie battle. And as we discussed with each game, whose crease has been more reliable than the other, it will likely come down to that for the rest of the series, game 6 and game 7. Yesterday, last night's game, I texted Sean Reynolds. I said, watch this. The Jets are going to outplay them and lose 1-0 probably in overtime. Obviously that didn't occur, but early in that game, you saw a lot of the offense they were generating. They just couldn't finish, and it almost kind of felt like a bit of game 4 all over again. And then they found their touch. Connor Hellebuck played a solid game. The power play finally clicked. Some of these things that I don't want to say the Jets took for granted throughout the year. I'm not suggesting that, but some of these things that were working for them early on throughout the regular season, and has kind of let them down a little bit here in the playoffs, crept its way back. Again, is that going to mean the Jets are going to go 3 for 3 on the power play in game 6? Absolutely not. Not ruling it out, but certainly not guaranteeing it. But it does put a little bit in their tanks. I think even that stuff at the end there, near the end there, with Jamie Benn and Mark Scheifele, and that kind of that anger, that kind of getting punched in the mouth can bode well for the Winnipeg Jets moving forward. You don't think that Mark Scheifele is going to be hyper-focused for this one after that altercation? I do. And I think those are the kind of things you need to rally on. Obviously, you're treating it one game at a time. Nobody's thinking about game 7 back in Winnipeg, but if they can get the job done here, if they can empty the tanks, if you will, in this game 6, the Jets do put themselves, as many have said before me, a really good position in game 7 in front of their home faithful. That is the ultimate home ice advantage. And that is the goal here. It's to obviously get to game 7, but it's going to take a massive effort in game 6, whether or not it's their best game of the playoffs. It probably has to be. They need to get that win. They need to slay that dragon, that road dragon. How is that going to be done? We'll have to wait and see. That's the disappointing in all this for fans, is that narrative sticks if they can't get it. So there's a lot to look at, particularly with recent history here in yesterday's game, and like what you see going into the game. Of course, that's countered by that other dark cloud narrative of road game troubles.
It's funny you bring up the altercation at the end. Again, for the life of me, I have no idea how the hell the Jets ended up shorthanded after that, but whatever. That was they were in a good position. It wasn't going to matter for the game. But I'm sort of with you. I mean, I think that was, listen, Jamie Benn's trying to do something to help his team, because he's done pretty much nothing in this whole series other than go to the penalty box and give the Jets opportunities on the power play, which, very importantly, they finally made the most of last night, which is another huge part of that game. Hellebuck playing great, the penalty kill stepping up, but finally getting some momentum and success on the power play, which followed that power play at the end of the second period, where it looked as good as it had looked in months. And then they got the results, obviously taking advantage of a 5-on-3 and then Vlad getting in. But Scheifele, Reem, if you can pull this one up, just this last clip, 14. Scheifele spoke before the team left today at the airport and was asked about that altercation with Ben. I haven't heard this yet, but I'm interested to hear what Scheifele had to say. Here's this is from earlier today. Scheifele asked about getting what many people thought was a bit of a sucker punch from the captain of the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, it was hard for me to understand what was going on either. So, my face hurts. There's not much I can really say in this situation.
Is there any consolation that he's got a $5,000 fine?
I think that money goes towards the retired players fund. So, it's great.
When's the last time you had your bell rung like that on a punch?
I'm not much of a fighter, so I can't really remember. It was tough couldn't really protect myself. My arms were pinned at my side, so definitely didn't feel good.
Listen, it's not the first Bush League move we've seen from Jamie Benn in the past, but the hammer, you just got to suck it up and make him pay in other ways. And I do think that in some ways, not that they need any more incentive to win. I mean, their season's over if they don't. But I think there is an element of coming together, rising up in the face of things like that. And I don't think it's a bad thing for the Jets going into Game 6.
So it's absolutely not. You win that game 4-0. The Dallas Stars get on a plane pissed off. I'm not saying they didn't get on a plane pissed off. Of course they did. They got blanked in a game that they could have wrapped up the series and punched their card to the West Final. However, those clips are playing over and over and over after the game all day today. You see them all over social media. The players see that stuff. There's a lot of pictures there where you see your star player getting punched in the face, falling to the ground. That should piss you off. That should add to the fuel of this comeback. You are the ones with the chip on your shoulders. You're the angry ones. This should add to that, right? Rather than feeling good about a win, right? Rather than going into that, locker room and maybe feeling some relief. Okay, we got this. That was a tough game or a good game. We got that one. Now we go into the next thing. Instead, you're kind of not even thinking about the victory. You've extended the series, and now you're just pissed off that one of your star players, one of your best players, a guy who missed time already in this playoffs for what was likely a head injury, all signs show to a concussion, and then takes a shot in the head. Like, if that doesn't piss you off, if we're led to believe that this room is tight, that everyone plays for the person beside them in the locker room, I'm expecting them to come out that first shift, that first period, with their asses on fire. They just punched your guy in the face in your barn. Like, of course that's going to have an effect in this game. It better.
Yeah, I mean, I
feel like one of my teammates got punched in the face there.
Yeah,
I'm taking myself back to I would be. Anyway,
listen, everyone was hot in the stands, but you can get over that. It's just a sign of absolute frustration on the part of your opponents, and I think that can also build, some important confidence for this team going forward. I mean, I don't really have an answer why this team has been so successful at home throughout these playoffs and has nothing to show on the road yet. For the best team on the road in the National Hockey League all season long. What I will say is that they're very much due for a win. And considering the way, as you pointed out, that they've played with their backs against the wall and in desperate situations, they really only have one option, and that is to go out and play their best road game of the entire playoffs and find a way to get a different result and get this thing back for Game 7.
Look, I know the 0-9 looks bad. Of course it does. I mean, it spans not just this season, right? It goes into other seasons, and you need to win on the road if you want to win the Stanley. Well, technically, the Jets wouldn't have to win on the road to win the Stanley Cup. However, most likely you need to win on the road, and so that is a dragon that needs to be slayed. But there's a reason why it's tough to play on the road in the playoffs. There's a reason why they call it home ice advantage. And while St. Louis wasn't, a world beater in the standings, they were a really strong team down the stretch, and particularly at home. So it's not like, they were a tough out. Dallas, again, another very strong, team, particularly at home. So, it is telling that they haven't been able to win on the road, but they've done for the most part a really good job at home. So you can apply that to their, to their opponents. Obviously, Dallas got that and flipped the home ice advantage in the first game of the series. Both teams coming off an emotional Game 7. Again, I'm not trying to create excuses here, but to your point, Huss, eventually something's got to give. Eventually you have to get a road win. Why not that be Game 6 in Dallas here?
We were singling out a few individual performances, albeit an incredible team win where everyone contributed. Hellebuck had to be great. Nikolai Ehlers really stepped up, but we also talked about that Pionk-Samberg pairing, which has been so good, especially at home, going up against the big finish line that Dallas has. When we look at last night's game, Pionk and Samberg, ice time. Let's see here. Pionk was 23:07. Dylan Samberg was 24:27. I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about ice time in excess of 25 minutes for each of those guys, maybe even pushing 26, considering the importance of game number 6 and how much they'll want to have those guys out against the big dogs in green.
It's funny, Huss, like I was scanning through the sheets because I wanted to see Samberg's shot totals because he finally has gotten the respect. He didn't register a shot last game, so my argument's going to suck, but he finally was added to the shot props after being like a guy who would collect 2 or 3 shots in the first 10 minutes of every game. Like he just, he's adding that element to his toolkit, if you will. I'm not saying he never had an ability to get shots to the net, but when you see him get shots to the net with ease, the way he has been, particularly over this playoffs, it's an impressive thing to see. And I mean that, to your point about, however many minutes those two end up logging tonight, or in Game 6, they're going to have to be, there's nothing left to give after this. You don't hold on for next game. And so that's kind of the danger of these games too, maxing out your guys and maxing out that energy. But at this point, I mean, you're not worried about that at all. And I mean, you look at those two guys, I've seen some comments, particularly after strong games, where it's just like, what is Dylan Samberg's next contract going to look like? He's looking exactly like that pillar on the blue line that, that every team wants, that consistency. And I look forward to seeing him continue to grow his game because it's been, I don't want to say it's been a fast ascension here, but it's certainly been, one that's been fun to watch and certainly one that, when you're talking about his potential has not yet been tapped by any.
Well, and I mean, like that pairing, it's so wild that these guys are both from a town of like 10,000 people or whatever, and they're playing together huge minutes on a pair in the National Hockey League. And I'm with you. I mean, I think Samberg is going to get a fat raise, hopefully a long-term deal, and he'll deserve every cent of it. But while we're talking about Neil Pionk, and I mean, I know there was a lot of people that were sort of questioning the extension that he got. It's a damn good thing they signed him when they did, because with playoff performances like he's putting forth, that number would be going up significantly, especially when you talk about the scarcity of legit top 4 right side defensemen. Never mind a guy that can elevate their play come playoff time the way number 4 has done for the Jets really since the start of the St. Louis series.
When you say something like that, Huss, you know what I think? I think, thank God that Adam Lowry scored in overtime in the first series in Game 7, because these conversations would be so much different around Pionk's contract, around future extensions or contracts, right? And I had that conversation with someone yesterday too. It's just interesting how things play out.
But listen, we can talk about the Adam Lowry with the goal in Game 7. But I would tell you, even if, say, it went the other way, we would look back at what happened in Game 7 without Mark Scheifele and without Josh Morrissey. And I mean, like that game, one of the great performances that he's had as a Winnipeg Jet. And we think back, and if you really dive in, like, I mean, the last couple of years were sort of rough for Pionk. I know a lot of people said he was playing through injuries. Playoff Pionk at his best has been, I mean, ask Connor McDavid about the 2021 series.
I've watched him. I've seen him.
He was a pain in the ass for 97 and a huge part of that play. So, I mean, I guess what I'm saying right now is Josh Morrissey's always been the focus of the blue line. And I think that pairing of Samberg and Pionk has sort of been underrated. We here in Winnipeg know what Samberg's able to do. And listen, they've just come together in such a great fashion. But there is an edge to Neil Pionk's game where He might not be the biggest guy, but he answers the bell and will challenge the bigger, stronger players on these other teams, and is making for some pretty long nights for some very damn good players on the Dallas Stars.
For somebody who was a lightning rod of criticism in and around after that time where he shut down McDavid, it was a pretty rocky couple of years for Neil Pionk, as what seemed to be. And I don't know if we've gotten full clarity on it, because a lot of players don't, either like using it for excuses or just don't like sharing, their injury history. But, it felt like Neil Pionk had been dealing with something for the better part of 2 years. This is probably, probably at his best health that he's been in a while. And the chemistry with your partner is a massive thing, right? We've seen that, we've seen them, we've seen Josh Morrissey have that Dylan DeMello staple beside him for a while, right? And that's it's broken up at times. It's stayed together obviously over time, but it's been allowed to kind of mature and see itself through. We've seen something similar here with Pionk and Dylan Samberg, and that whether it's the connection of their towns or just the style of their games or a combination of both, that's allowed them to play so well. It's also too, Huss, is that I think they feed off each other well in the style in which their games, how they play, right? Neil Pionk is your more of an offensive threat who wants to, carry the puck. We've seen Dylan Samberg do that too. There's no doubt about it. But I think there's more comfort in Dylan Samberg kind of being that stay-at-home defenseman at heart, while, obviously allowing some of those other offensive sides to his game to flourish too. But Neil Pionk is kind of that guy who's known for his offensive upside, likes to get shots on net. It's nice having that safety net that you can trust, rely on, in a guy like Dylan Samberg, who just continues to, as we've been talking about here, continues to mature in his game and will only get better over time. So when you look at what that contract extension could look like for Samberg, and you couple that with what we saw from Neil Pionk in his extension this year, and that could be, you could nail down your defense for the foreseeable future here and what would be their era of, potential opportunities to win it. So, assuming they can get him on the dotted line, I'm sure they will, hopefully for a while and at a good price for both sides, because I think Dylan Samberg has all the makings to be a Jet for a very, very long time.
Hammer, great stuff. Listen, I hope that we're still talking about the Jets being alive next week. I know we'll definitely be talking about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as training camp continues and we get closer to not only kicking off the CFL, but getting back at it with CFL 110. So enjoy this beautiful Manitoba weather we've got for May long weekend. How about that for coming in right on cue after 36 degrees earlier this week?
Honestly, I'm not welcoming the crap weather this weekend. I'm certainly not, but I've been the weather, the 30 degrees or whatever. I wore sunscreen, but for some reason my nose and my lips got fried. So I've been in this uncomfortable stage of life right now. So I'm kind of I'm happy about the weather kind of going down. I'm trying to regulate my skin. So, just a personal note to send you off on. Another one too. I woke up this morning and listened to the second episode of the newest season of Target Score Weekly, and Joey Slattery handled it on his own. I know he's your next guest. He was solo without our friend Taylor Allen still traveling. So check that out if you haven't. I listened. That was my morning get up along with the Kenny and Rennie show. I get up early. Let's just say that.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've got lots to look forward to. Sea Bears opener tonight, game 6 tomorrow, hopefully a game 7 on Monday. Tuesday's the Goldeyes home opener. The Bombers are back. Hopefully we can keep these hockey conversations going, but there's still a lot of other things happening in and around the show as well. Have a great long weekend, buddy. Enjoy the game, and we'll talk to you soon.
I'm down if you are. See you guys.
Right on. There's Jeff Hamilton at Jeff K. Hamilton on X. You can read his work in the pages of the Winnipeg Free Press. All right, let's do the why not question of the day for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. The poll is up. How confident are you in the Jets heading into Game 6 in Dallas? High, they've figured it out. Medium, depends on Hellebuck. Low, road loss is a problem. Or none, Stars close it out at home. Get your votes in right now. We'll get to what the people have to say and Fans First fan feedback coming up in just a couple of minutes. Well, I know there were people popping in yesterday. I loved it. Getting white hoodies and hats, those new Jet white hats that have come in as part of that Royal Sports New Era collab because they believed. Everyone downtown believed last night, and the Winnipeg Jets believed, and this series is going back to Dallas for Game 6, and I think when we get to fan feedback, we'll see some confidence that this series will get back to Winnipeg for Game 7. Of course, Royal Sports is your whiteout headquarters with all things white and all things Winnipeg Jets waiting for you. And while you're there at Royal, get ready for spring and summer with tons of new bikes coming in every week, and soccer, baseball, softball, tennis, you name it. If you're going to go out and get outside and get after it, Royal Sports has you covered there as well. The original sports superstore in town for over 40 years. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Now's a great time to follow them on Instagram as well, at Royal Sports Winnipeg, for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. Tomorrow night, Boston Pizzas around the city and province are going to be packed with Jet fans, hoping to see their team get that elusive road win and get back for Game 7. BP is your playoff headquarters, where you can watch the Jets with full sound, Jets pick-a-player contest to win great prizes from BP, and, of course, the new playoff menu featuring the Triple Pep Pizza, the Wingman Pizza, the All-Star Canadian Poutine, and wing flights are back, including the Scoville Showdown for you crazies that love it hot. For tomorrow night and throughout the Stanley Cup Playoffs, make it Boston Pizza with the new playoff menu. You can always order online at home at bostonpizza.com. Well, it is May-long weekend, a great time to grab yourself a case of Winnipeg's favorite local beer, Little Brown Jug. Shout out to our friends at LBJ as we head into May-long.
Learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, good stuff. All right, we're going to get ready for the Seabears opener in just a minute with Joey Slattery, as Hammer just teased. But let's get to fan feedback from Fans First, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market. We're locked and loaded, hoping that Monday night has Game 7 between the Jets and Stars here in Winnipeg. And if that is the case, Fans First is going to be the spot where you're going to want to be jumping on to see whether you can grab a ticket to be a part of the whiteout. No added fees at Fans First. So when you go to fansfirst.ca and you see a ticket price, what you see is exactly what you pay, not a cent more. And if you have tickets to sell, no better place to do that than Fans First, with quick, prompt payment the first business day after the game and the best customer service as well. Check it out today, heading into hopefully Game 7 here in the Peg at fansfirst.ca. All right, we're just checking out the poll. And here we are. This is the results right now for fan feedback. How confident are you the Jets heading into Game 6 in Dallas? 33% is high. They've figured it out. 55% is medium. Depends on Hellebuck. Only 9% are saying it's low. Road losses a problem. And 3%, probably the Stars fans in the chat, saying none. The Stars close it out at home. Keep your votes coming in, as well as other takes. Always welcome for Fans First fan feedback in the chat. Fan feedback's brought to you by Fans First, by fans, for fans, no fees. Check out the site today over at fansfirst.ca. All right, hoops season is back. Year 3 of the Winnipeg Seabears begins tonight. The Seabears will be the host for the championship weekend later on, and their journey to qualify for that starts this evening against the Edmonton Stingers, and the host of Target Score Weekly and CEBL sideline reporter and a friend of WST, the Slat Man, Joey Slattery, joins us now. Slats, what's going on? How are you?
I'm excited, man. I just got back from Canada Life Center. We're back at the shoot-arounds. It feels real. Very, very excited to get this season underway.
I love the fact you still got the whites on. Everyone's all fired up about the hockey team right now. A big win last night.
Oh, is that happening? Is there hockey still going?
A quick turnaround for the building, I guess, to get everything ready for the home opener after we weren't out of the building till midnight last night.
So I was talking to Christian O'Mell, who does the play-by-play for the Seabears on CJOB. I'm doing the play-by-play on TSN Plus, CEBL Plus. And he said he got out after midnight. And then I was talking to one of the staffers and said the same thing. He's like, it's crazy right now trying to go through from Winnipeg from the Jets rather to Seabears, but everybody's running on adrenaline, man. It's a good time to be a sports fan in Winnipeg, especially after last night.
No doubt. I mean, the Seabears are back tonight. The Fish are back playing, but their home opener is going to be next Wednesday. And now, of course, we get ready for the main event tonight in the Peg, and that is the Seabears and the Edmonton Stingers. Listen, before we kind of talk about the upcoming campaign and the team that will be on the court, a big part of tonight already, today, in fact, has been remembering really the face of the franchise for 2 years that left us tragically in the offseason. And the memories of Chad Posthumus will be with everybody tonight at Canada Life Center as the Seabears begin their year without the Giant that was such a huge part of this community coming back to play at home. It'll be a melancholy way to start the season knowing that Chad's not with us.
Yeah, I mean, giant is the best way to put it, figuratively and physically. This morning was a great ceremony. The city honoring Chad on Donald Street, honorary Chad Posthumus Way, between Portage and Graham. And the family was there, and they've done such a great job of carrying his legacy since his passing and ensuring that, his impact is continued far after he's left us, and it will continue that way. And they're retiring his number tonight, so that'll be an emotional ceremony. Talked to Alex Campbell today. So Alex Campbell and him go way back. They've been teammates on multiple teams. They were teammates last year with the Seabears, and he talked about it, saying that it's going to be tough, right? I mean, this is something that players aren't used to going through. You're not used to losing teammates at that age, and having to start a season where someone who's so important to a franchise is suddenly gone. And Mike Taylor said the same thing. Head coach Mike Taylor, just there's no textbook for this, Huss. This is what they do. This is, they're going through this, not really sure what to expect. And their big thing is they want to get a win out of this. But everything that will be done this year is going to be with Chad Posthumus in heart and mind. And, props to the Seabears organization. They already have a big year ahead of them with championship weekend, as you mentioned earlier. And to throw this and how they've been able to celebrate Chad Posthumus's life is commendable, and it will continue on through the season. But he's surely missed. You go into shoot around, it's not the same, right? Like, he was such a big personality, the warmest face there. He had the team together, the media. He was always great with us too. Today kind of hit a little bit where it was tough going into shoot around, and the first thing you notice is there's no Chad.
He's, he was just a Winnipeg, an absolute beauty. A guy that loved this city, the opportunity to play at home in front of friends and family. He cherished so much, and there'll never be another 33 for the Seabears. I know that, and but there is a lot of great local content kind of following in the footsteps of Chad. And we had a great chat with Kyler Filowich, who of course is going to be making his CEBL debut tonight after getting all the way to March Madness last year with this Wofford club. Fill us in on the class of 2025, the local content on the Seabears before we kind of get to the rest of the roster, because it has been such a great opportunity for local players to come back at home during the summer and play in front of the people that they grew up playing with and for.
Yeah, and no Simon Hildebrandt. That's one of the locals not coming back as well, which I think a lot of people are going to miss him. Back-to-back development player of the year, just had a great run in the NCAA.
He should be back next year, right? It's one year basically for him to finish up the NCAA. That was why it's not happening, but I imagine his future plans will involve playing for the Seabears again.
100%. This is, he's said it. The team has said it. They worked really hard to get him back this year. They are working with the NCAA to try and work in, kind of following on the junior hockey thing, not to get too, insider baseball, but with junior hockey eligibility opening up to the NCAA, they'd like to do something like that where Canadian players can come back and play in the summer. Weren't able to get it done for this year, however, but yeah, the ton of local talent. I think one person that most basketball fans know of in Winnipeg and are going to be excited to see, aside from Kyler Filowich, is Mason Krause, teammate of Simon Hildebrandt at the University of Manitoba. Just gets better every year. Last season and with Manitoba, his shooting percentage went up, but it's his defense, man. This guy led the country in steals. He's a defensive specialist. He's a gamer, as you say, right? He's competitive. He's good for the sport, good for the team, good for the city. This is a kid that I think that people are really going to grow to love. He should have an opportunity. They're light at guard. Mike Taylor has said he's a guy that will get an opportunity. And Kyler Filowich as well. Kyler Filowich, I want to temper the expectation with him just a little bit, simply because, we saw him at Wofford and we saw him in March Madness, and it's, I think sometimes we over assume how good the NCAA is, right? And then we kind of forget that the CEBL is professional, and he's talked about this. It's an adjustment. His opportunity comes right now because the big acquisition for the Sea Bears this year was Simi Chitu. And Chitu was a guy that played for Calgary 2 years ago, was a huge pain in the side for Winnipeg when they played Calgary. Right now he's out in Greece, which is one of the top leagues in the world, going on a playoff run. So once he's back, you might see Kyler Filowich take a step back, but he's got a real opportunity here to get his feel as a professional. This is his first ever professional year. Again, no developmental in NCAA. But he looked good in camp, and he's really impressed the coaching staff. But those are the two guys that you're going to see as local products that are going to get the most time here tonight. Both are obviously excited. Mason Krause was a practice player 2 years ago. He was the second-round draft pick this year for the Sea Bears. So, he's a guy that definitely has a chance here to get some playing time and see what it's like to play at the next level.
Slats, it seems like Coach Mike Taylor's taken a little bit of a different approach to building this team this year.
Yeah.
And I think maybe they learned the hard way last year about building around one particular player that might be somewhat volatile. Year two of Teddy Allen did not go particularly well. He ended up basically getting booted from the team. And I'm not sure they ever really recovered. This seems to be maybe a little bit more of a balanced squad. But who are the guys that, like the starters, who are the players that Coach Taylor is really going to be leaning on right out of the gate as we go into game one against the Stingers?
Tevian Jones. Tevian Jones is an electric guard. He is a big-time competitor, super athletic. This guy can drive to the rim and throw down some big dunks as well. And then you got to throw in Jalen Williams in there. They played with each other in Grand Rapids in the G League, the NBA G League, for the Grand Rapids Gold. So they've got some chemistry already. There's highlights on YouTube of them together, give and go. Jalen Williams is a big body, big athletic guy. Like when you look at him, like he's not like the traditional big, like he's defined, he's tall, and he can jump. Like his defensive abilities, Huss, are insane. Like you'll see with him from looking at the highlights and seeing them in practice, he can shoot the three, so he can step back, but he keeps defenses honest because he is also able to play in the post. He's great off the pick and roll, but for me, it was his defensive abilities. Like rim protection is going to be much better for this team this year, and for him, what I'm interested to see is he gets out of nowhere, right? You remember that LeBron James block against Golden State where he runs back? It was the iconic play of that championship run. He's got a lot of plays like that where, players think they're in the clear. They go up for a layup or a dunk, and in comes Williams to swat it. So those are the two guys that I'm keeping my eye on to start. But then you have the staples, right? Mason Boursier is a guy who stepped up last year, kind of found himself in a tumultuous situation. He played out in Estonia for a little bit before welcoming his son, so he's had some time to recover. They've been looking forward to the season. And, of course, Alex Campbell, right? Alex Campbell, 3-and-D specialist. He was the guy that hit 1,000 points last year in that entertaining game against Scarborough. He's the first Canadian to do that in the CEBL. And he's a guy that they're really leaning on to build this culture. But for me, if we're going to eye one player, I'm going to say it's Jones, Tevian Jones for sure. Terry Roberts is another guy, a point guard that I'm really looking forward to seeing in a game situation. And Jalen Williams, though.
He's got a wild story, that Terry Roberts.
Dude. It is wild. Yeah. So like quickly to just put this story, because we could talk about this forever, but you talk about a comeback story. Unreal. This guy got caught by a stray bullet. He was shot in the chest. He was on a ventilator, life and balance, right? He made a recovery, and within a year was back playing in the G League, and is young. He doesn't have much veteran experience there. So you look at that. You're on life support, essentially, make a full recovery, and have an impactful season in Long Island with the Nets. and now he's over here. Like, it's mind blowing to think that someone came back. I talked to him about it a little bit, and the one thing he said was, it's great to be here, as in like where my feet are and I'm alive, right? He has a little bit of a different perspective on basketball after going through that, but also he said that basketball was that driving factor, in terms of his recovery. He just, once he realized, like, I'm going to make a recovery, he didn't want to give up his career. He didn't want it to be the end of his career. But I've talked to his coaches in Long Island, and they could not say enough good things about this guy. So that's why I wanted to add him. I added him in late with the, the players to watch, because this is a guy that's highly competitive, great guy at both ends of the floor, and just seems like a dude that is a pure team player. And it's just playing for so much more, right? You go through something like that, I couldn't even imagine. But I think when you have these opportunities, you don't take anything for granted anymore. So here's a guy, that's going to bring a culture, a culture boost, if you will, for someone that just knows what it's like to be grateful to be playing this game professionally. And I think he's a guy that's going to be giving his all every game, based on what I've heard from former coaches.
Love it, Slats. Cannot wait to get back down to the rink with the ice not there, but with the court out, and see what the Sea Bears have cooking this year. Of course, championship weekend will include the Sea Bears later on in August, right here in Winnipeg. For those of you wondering, and we'll get to the Coolbet lines later on, but we do have CEBL lines. And listen, I think early on in the season, they were just basically saying, let's see what happens. Sea Bears -110 tonight, Edmonton -120, Edmonton a 1.5 point favorite on the road. So pretty close to a pick 'em. Hopefully the fellas can get a win for cool bettors and certainly for the fans tonight. Slats, before we go, you mentioned that you're going to be doing the color or the broadcast tonight. How can people watch the game, hear you do your thing, and let people know about Target Score Weekly now that the season is back underway?
Yeah, so CEBL Plus, it's a free app. You can go out there. All the games, CEBL games are on there. TSN Plus, if you're already a subscriber, those games are on there as well. And if you do have American listeners, NLSE is the American partners out there. Target Score Weekly. Yeah, we got Target Score, the Target Score podcast on YouTube. I highly recommend going to the YouTube show. There's a lot more information and stuff going on there, but of course you can listen to it on, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Check it out on Instagram, Target Score WPG. I'm Joey Slattery TV on Instagram, putting stuff out there. And yeah, for those betting lines, I'll also say this, Huss, Edmonton has their way at Canada Life Center. I think they're 5-2 all time against Winnipeg in general, 4-1 at Canada Life Center. Winnipeg beat them for the first time last year. Two very different looking teams. It'll be interesting to see how it pans out. And shout out to Jeff Hamilton, #1 fan of Target Score podcast. I love the support that guy gives, and he's one of the great journalists that we have in this city, and he's all dialed in on sports, man. That guy could talk anything. But would love coming following up on the hammer there.
One of our favorites, two of our favorites actually, Hammer and the Slapman. Listen, have a great call tonight, and here's to a great season for the Sea Bears down at Canada Life Center, and enjoy the May long weekend, pal.
Thanks, you too. Enjoy this beautiful May long weekend weather.
I don't know how we go from 37 Celsius to 6, but
only in Winnipeg.
Must be May long in Manitoba.
Exactly.
But I'll tell you what, maybe this is good. I meant to say this beforehand. But just thinking about everyone that's affected by the wildfires right now, I thought the Jets did a real nice bit last night at the game, and certainly Scott Arniel, mentioning the first responders, the firefighters, and everyone that's impacted by the fires in our area. And as much as this weather does suck, hopefully this rain and the cool will diminish the threat to both property and lives in the province right now. All right, Hacksaw is going to join us in just a minute. I know we were talking about the Sea Bears opening tonight, but don't forget Tuesday is Goldeye's home opener. Let me pull this thing up. First 5,000 fans at the game on Tuesday are going to get this beautiful Goldeye's jersey. You can see Winnipeg 25 on the back, Goldeye's with the WPG on the shoulder. We've got the Maple Leaf as well. Great giveaway to start off the season down at the park. So if you don't have your tickets yet, book it for Tuesday night at Blue Cross Park, the first day of the home schedule for the Winnipeg Goldeyes. Wish the Goldeyes luck as they continue their season opening road trip, heading back to the Peg. And we'll look forward to seeing you all, hopefully with some much better weather than we've got today, on Tuesday at Blue Cross Park. Goldice.com for ticket packages, patio parties, suites, rentals, everything you need, including game day tickets for the home opener at 982 base or goldice.com. Of course, Assiniboia Downs is back as well. We've got to wait for Tuesday and Wednesday for live racing. But if you're into the ponies, the Preakness goes this weekend, second leg of the Triple Crown. No better place to enjoy the Preakness than Assiniboia Downs. They'll have the races. You can bet right there. Enjoy all the amazing food at Assiniboia Downs, all the VLTs and whatnot. And, of course, they're open every single day of the year outside of Christmas down at the track. But live racing is back Tuesday and Wednesday, and Remis and I will be back with our picks on Tuesday for day 3 of live racing this year. Hacksaw is going to join us in just a minute. Marbles registration is open, by the way. So if you just popped in, make sure you hammer in !marbles in the chat. Let's see what's happening at the PGA Championship for our Breezy Bend golf report today. And Johnny Vegas is in the clubhouse as your leader. Had a 64 yesterday, followed up with 70 today. He's at 8 under par. Not a lot of big names on this leaderboard. Matthew Pavon and Alex Smalley are 2 shots back at 6 under. And then Max Homa with a 64 today. Great to see Max getting his game back in gear. He's tied for 4th along with the young Japanese player, Ryo Hitsutuni, who's 5 under, still with 9 holes left to play. Matt Fitzpatrick is at 5 under. Other players at 4 under include Bobby Mack. Canadian Taylor Pendrith with a nice 1 under round. He is 3 under par, tied for 12th. He'll be playing the weekend. He happens also to be tied with the top live golfer, Bryson DeChambeau and Richard Bland. Scotty Scheffler is 1 under for his round right now. He's at 3 under par. And if you're wondering what is up with Victor Hovland, by the way, 2 under as well. John Rahm is 2 under. As far as other Canadians, only Corey Connors has a chance of making the cut. He is 3 under for his round today through 7. Great start for Corey. So he's 1 under. We will have 2 Canadians, it looks like, playing on the weekend. Rory McIlroy is 2 over par for the tourney, 1 under par for the round. Right there with Xander Schauffele, and the expected cut line maintains at +1. So there's your PGA Championship update. All of our golf updates brought to you by Breezy Bend Country Club, home of the 2025 Manitoba Open. Go to breezybend.ca or give the clubhouse a call for membership information and getting on the waiting list at Breezy Bend. All right, we'll do marbles in about 10 minutes. So get your entries in there right now. But it's not Friday without a visit from the man himself, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. We got the schedule out. Saw, what is up? How are you doing?
Beer Friday, Football Friday. I'm doing well. Now, full disclosure. What hoodie are you wearing today? What's it show? Winnipeg? Oh,
this is the whiteout hoodie, Lee. I wore this yesterday going into game 5, knowing we needed a win. And considering that we need another win to get this series back in 7, I figured I'd go back-to-back, not change a thing, little superstitious. But the whiteout was rocking last night. Did you get a chance to see it?
Been watching it nonstop till my eyes fall out of my head. Yes.
Hey, guess what?
Full disclosure. I'm like you. I bet you and I don't own a piece of clothing that doesn't have a logo on it.
Pretty damn close. Pretty damn close. Although I certainly don't have any New York Yankees paraphernalia. I will tell you that, Hacksaw. Yeah, you know what? Jets and Stars. Jets for the first time ever on U.S. national TV tomorrow. Jets and Dallas are going to be on ABC tomorrow night, coast to coast. So it'll be an interesting opportunity to maybe go in and spoil the party in the Lone Star State. I was at both games 3 and 4, Hacksaw, and very, very close margin between winning and losing. They just weren't able to get the result, but man, what a performance last night in the whiteout. And got to tell you, there's a lot of confidence this team can get this series back here to Winnipeg for a deciding game 7, break their 9-game road losing streak, and then break Peter DeBoer's incredible 9-0 record in game 7s in Winnipeg on
yeah, I've seen all those notes. I know all about it. My heart kind of ached when you guys went down 3-1 in the series. I thought, you need somebody to help Sheffley and obviously your other sniper, Clifford. I'm a big Velarde fan. I'm hoping there's some breakout goals coming for him in postseason. Their defense is playing well. Hellebuck has really bounced back. And again, he's the one that got you to the dance, so you got to stay with him. But I tell you, playoffs have been really hard to watch. I sat here and watched the LA Kings win 2 and then give up 4 games in a row and lose to Edmonton. And the Maple Leafs are on the brink of extinction. That was one of the most deplorable things I've ever seen, watching that Maple Leaf game at home. I was just absolutely shocked. So, and tell you what, if this thing winds up on the East Coast, Carolina, Florida, take no prisoner series, my God, Florida just beats you up. They wear you down. They're so big. They're so physical. And Carolina plays rock'em sock'em hockey. So Eastern Final is going to be amazing. And we'll have to see who survives out here on the West. But Edmonton's really put this thing together, haven't they?
Yeah, the Oilers are looking real good. I mean, they got rid of the Vegas Golden Knights in 5. They were quite pleased with the Jets winning last night to give them a little bit of extra rest and see what happens. Hey, just before we move off hockey, down in your neck of the woods, Ken Holland announces the new general manager of the Los Angeles Kings, and some big moves in Duckland as well, with Joel Quenneville being the new head coach.
Well, we talked a little bit about Quenneville. To me, that's right guy, right time, right roster. I know there's a lot of history. I wrote a huge column about Coach Q getting this job. He paid a terrible price for his inaction and what he learned, and he did not do very much about while he was with the Blackhawks. But that, to me, was more on Stan Bowman than it was on Joel Quenneville, because they were right in the middle of the playoffs. And, you get no days off. There's no downtime in the playoffs because it's a game, practice, get on a plane, practice, et cetera, et cetera. But Quenneville didn't follow up, and he openly admitted. I've been involved in a lot of Zoom conference calls and press conferences in person. I tell you, that was the most stand-up press conference I think I've been to, in terms of him admitting what happened, why I did this, why I did not do this, my mistake, et cetera. He really owned it. So I was really impressed. And I think for the most part, the response is that guy's resume speaks volumes, and he's inheriting what I tend to think might be the best collection of young players. I have to add a little bit more veteran experience, but he's walking in the door, and he's walking into a situation with a lot of really good young players. And in terms of Ken Holland, granted, it didn't quite get there in Edmonton, but he laid the cement blocks for the foundation that became a really good Oilers team. And prior to that, he'd won in Detroit. So he's got worlds of experience, and it's going to be interesting to see how they add to what they have, because Rob Blake left him with cap space, left him with draft picks, and left them with an awful lot of firepower and a really good defense. And Ken Holland's already said at the press conference yesterday that Jim Hilliard will be my coach. We had 105 points under him, and this learning curve he went through with some mistakes, he'll be a...
We just lose Hacksaw?
I think we just lost Saw.
Jeez.
That's never happened with Saw.
San Diego internet just got cut out. Well, hopefully he'll join us back in again. I just want him to... I'm very much looking forward to Hacksaw talking about the new NFL schedule. And okay, I think we've got Hacksaw back. Saw, can we hear you? Can you hear us? Remis, you can just get him set up. Might need to check up that microphone.
Hello.
Once we finish. All right, Hacksaw, can you hear us?
I don't know if he can. I'm not sure what happened there.
No, that's weird.
I'm here.
Okay, perfect. You can hear us. All right.
Can't hear you.
Oh. Reem, I don't know. Maybe there's an audio side. We can hear Saw. So we'll get this cleared up in just a moment. I'm going to be getting to the Coolbet lines in just a moment. We do have the 2 games still to determine what happens, but the Oilers are in, the Hurricanes are in, and of course we got the Leafs Panthers tonight, which we'll get to, in the Jets and the Dallas Stars. All right, I think we've got Hacksaw back. Saw, as we transition over to the NFL, I didn't want to lose you because in case anyone was wondering, there is an America's team. It is not the Dallas Cowboys, although that team will be going to play the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday. It seems like the NFL cannot get enough of the Kansas City Chiefs in prime time as the best and most watched show in the National Football League, and I don't think anyone should be surprised.
Well, sorry we got disconnected. We have high winds here and fire issues here, probably like you do in Western Canada right now. So we have power outages. But yes, I will forgive you. You are allowed to be a pompous-ass Kansas City Chief fan, though that offer expires at midnight tonight. But no, they're going to be on national TV 7 times, which is impressive because they've earned it. They're going to be on the TV more than CNN is on my TV. But that's fascinating. Philadelphia is going to be on 6 times with primetime games, and that's deservedly so. Please answer me this question. Dallas hasn't won bleep in a long time. Why is Dallas? Why is a faltering 49ers team, and why is Atlanta, which hasn't done anything, why are they on 6 times on primetime games? That, to me, doesn't seem real fair to the network holder. I find that really, really weird. The elite, you want them on there. The Chargers have got a great young quarterback. They're going to be on 5 times. The Raiders, with Pete Carroll and all those storylines, they're hardly going to be on TV at all. So I know some of the network selections to me are kind of weird. But you don't care because you're a pompous-ass Chief fan.
Hey, listen, it's good to be. Hey, we got there's an unfinished business to be taken care of. Won the AFC, but got waxed in the Super Bowl. That Week 2 game, Super Bowl rematch between the Chiefs and Eagles, is going to be absolutely awesome. And of course, the Chiefs and the Chargers are kicking the year off with an international game. Is it in Brazil or?
Yeah, Sao Paulo. It's a Friday night game. There's a Thursday night NFL lid lifter, which is the start of the season. Eagles, Cowboys. Friday is in Brazil, Chargers, Chiefs. Sunday night football, first week, Ravens, Bills. That doesn't get any better than that historical matchup with those quarterbacks. And then Monday night football will be Da Bears against Minnesota and their new quarterback, J.J. McCarthy. So the first week is really kind of eerie.
Hey, just speaking on the Vikings for a sec, Lee, really interesting part of their schedule in that they go and play an international game in Dublin and then are staying in Europe for a week and then playing their next week in Europe. I think only the Jags have played multiple games in Europe beforehand, but it sounds like the Vikings and their organization were keen to do this, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's some Viking fans around here deciding for a little Chevy Chase European vacation to check out the purple ones in back-to-back weeks overseas.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. And again, you wouldn't make 2 international trips, over, back. You'd stay there, practice, and that's been done in the past. We have a weird scenario out here. You mentioned the game in Brazil. The Chargers, Chiefs, opener, it's supposed to be a Charger home game. They're giving up a game in L.A. at SoFi Stadium to go play on a neutral field against those guys, the enemy, the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know why Charger ownership would agree to that unless the NFL threw dollar bills on the table for the Spanos family and said, do that. I would never give up a home game in Kansas City, especially it's a bleeping division game. So
it seems crazy to have any division games, international games, to be honest, of teams.
Yep.
You want to have the sanctity of the schedule with 1 game at home, 1 game on the road, even for everyone. And listen, Spanos for sure just took the check. That shouldn't surprise anybody in San Diego, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But certainly doesn't help their team. But Harbaugh will be ready to go. They'll jump at it. Hey, Lee, before we go, can we get a weekly update on the soap opera that is Bill Belichick and his babe Jordan? This is unlike anything I can remember. For a guy that was do your job, don't be a distraction, everything about his life right now seems to be a distraction.
Bill and the babe. That should be the headline. It's amazing. Do you know where he was last week? He was in Maine. He was in Portland, Maine, because she was in a beauty contest. And there is Bill Belichick, age 73, sitting amongst all these young women at a beauty contest. And by the way, Jordan Hudson finished 3rd in the beauty contest. She did not win. So she obviously needs a lot more reps in that area. There's all kinds of other angles to this whole relationship story. North Carolina went to the ACC office because the ACC spring football media days were this past week in Charlotte. And the ACC invoked that if I went to the ACC days or you went to the ACC days, and if you asked a question to Belichick about his relationship with Jordan Hudson, interview over. So they really put a clamp on that. I mean, I don't know how North Carolina is going to be able to control the national media as it relates to Bill, because he's made this a public story about his private life because of how she acted. Also, North Carolina evidently told him, you need to hire a professional PR agent because she can't handle this job. So he evidently is going to hire a former Chicago Bears executive to run the PR for Belichick Media. So, I mean, this story goes on. And the next angle to the story hasn't really gotten out there. She's applied to go Dancing with the Stars, Belichick's babe, on network TV. So this goes on and on and on. By the way, she's still allowed on the sidelines at spring football, wearing her lengthy leather coat, her hot pants, and her big boots. It's just no distractions, Opal. No distractions.
No, it's all about performance on the football field. Great having you on the program. Hey, quickly, did the Knicks get it done tonight? Or are we going to have Game 7 between Boston and New York?
I was shocked at how poorly the Knicks played in that last game, especially after Tatum went down with a catastrophic Achilles injury. I just don't know that Boston's got enough firepower now. Kristaps Porzingis is having all kinds of digestive problems with a viral infection. He plays for 8 minutes and he feels terrible. So I think the sand in the hourglass is about to run out on the Boston Celtics. And this whole thing's been shocking because Cleveland on the 64 wins, they're on vacation. And out here on the West Coast, Golden State, once they lost Steph Curry, lost their chance to be a player. So I don't know who's going to come out of the East, but Oklahoma City is probably going to trample them anyhow.
Lee, what's cooking at LeeHacksawHamilton.com and on the YouTube channel?
Well, we write an absolute ton of stuff on my website every day. It's absolutely free. If you check it out first thing every morning, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. You can go to any page you want because I write baseball and football and basketball. I write a ton of hockey, plus a whole bunch of other things. YouTube channels, we've had some scheduling problems. We're doing one tonight at 8 o'clock. So put your beer down at 8 o'clock West Coast time because we hope to be able to pull it off. My co-host is traveling. He's been in Wyoming and a whole bunch of other places that don't have real great connectivity. So far, we've been able to get them done. But we're going to be on tonight at 8 o'clock with a special Friday nighttime version of Hacksaw's Headlines.
Great stuff. Have an awesome weekend. Enjoy the game tomorrow and hopefully Game 7 in the white on Monday night. We'll talk to you next week, pal.
Go Jets. Have a great sports weekend. Thanks, Hustler.
Good stuff. There is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton with his Friday visit. All right. It is just about marbles time, everybody. If you just popped in, Craig Smith says Knicks get her done. I'm with you. I've never been a Knicks guy, but I am definitely, and I kind of grew up with that Indiana-Knicks rivalry. Let's see it again. And, of course, the T-Wolves now moving on to the Western Conference Finals. We do have Game 7 between the Nuggets and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Canadian Star, and OKC Thunder on the weekend. In fact, last call for marbles. Remis, if you can grab that up and get it ready to go. I'll actually start off with the NBA playoffs while we were just mentioning that. The Knicks tonight, a minus 143 favorite. Boston plus 121 on the road to extend the series to a 7th game. Series price on that one is Knicks minus 303. If you think the Celtics can win tonight and then win at home in Game 7, Boston plus 233. And for Game 7 in Oklahoma City on Sunday afternoon, the Nuggets plus 250 underdogs and 7.5-point underdogs. And the OKC Thunder minus 303 and 7.5-point favorites. Right now, the NBA championship, the OKC Thunder, despite being pushed to 7, are still the favorite to win the championship at plus 120. T-Wolves plus 475. Knicks plus 525. Pacers plus 575. The Nugs plus 925, and the Boston Celtics without Jason Tatum, as Lee just mentioned, 15-1 to come back in their series and win the championship. As far as the Stanley Cup playoffs go, tonight, the Maple Leafs, facing elimination after being embarrassed at home in Game 5, are plus 190 underdogs in Fort Lauderdale against the Panthers. Florida, minus 227 favorites. And plus 115 on the money line, or the puck line, I should say, if you think the Panthers win by 2. Total in that game, 5.5. And as far as the game that we're all locked in for, tomorrow night, 7:07 puck drop in Dallas. Winnipeg versus the Stars. The Jets plus 127 underdogs on the road. Dallas minus 149 favorites. And the total is 5.5. As far as the Jets series price after their win last night, they're down to plus 290 to win the series. Dallas minus 385. And for those of you that maybe want to take a bit of a long shot, the Jets, I think they were 40-1 to win the Cup yesterday. On account of their win, that number is now 20-1. But if you think they're going to come back and keep on rolling, 20-1 right now. Leafs 30-1 in their predicament. Oilers are the Stanley Cup favorite right now at plus 245. Panthers plus 275. Canes 3-1. And the Dallas Stars plus 350. Florida's minus 105 to win the East. And the Canes are even money to win the East. The Leafs still at 12-1, technically alive. And we do have Conn Smythe Trophy odds up as well. These are interesting. McDavid's the favorite at plus 380. Rantanen 5-1. Freddie Anderson 6-1. Bob 10. Draisaitl 11. Barkov 15. You got to go all the way down to Connor Hellebuck at 40-1 for a Winnipeg Jet on the list. Kyle Connor's 47-1. And I did notice Nikolai Ehlers 200-1. Of course, he missed most of the first series, but now has 5 goals. Hey, if this team can get through this round somehow, Ehlers will be a big part of it, and that number will go Scheifele plus 110 right now, just looking at Jets on that list. Everything is there right now over at Coolbet. And we do have some promos, which I'll tell you about right away. Jake fired me this out a little earlier today. For those of you that like lacrosse, Patty, of course, will be doing the color on one of the games he does on TSN every week. There's a National Lacrosse League $10 free bet. If you opt in with the code NLL25, you'll get a $10 free bet for the NLL Finals. The finals start tonight between the Buffalo Bandits and the Saskatchewan Rush. They'll play today and Sunday for sure. Third and final game will be next weekend if needed. The casino's also got a program, 24 free spins for May 2-4. Opt in with the code 2 as in TWOFOUR25 and get a free 24 free spins to the Slot Blue Wizard. You get one opt-in for the weekend, eligible now until the end of the day, Monday. And, of course, my favorite, the 30% Big Swing Boost. 30% profit boost available all weekend on both pre-round and live markets. A lot of great opportunity to boost some big names in the middle of the leaderboard. I used my 30% profit boost on Taylor Pendrith to be the top Canadian, which looks good. But I'll tell you what, Corey Connors is making a big push right now with a great round. But Taylor Pendrith, 3 under par right now. I'm just looking for Corey. Corey is at 1 under right now, 3 under on his round. It's all there waiting for you at Coolbet. Use the promo code WST if you haven't played there before for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. We'll look forward to having both Jake and Patty on the program. And I wish those guys luck. I was thinking of having Jake on today, but he's probably, I haven't even wanted to text him after the Leaf performance on the weekend. I'm sure he's been needed to have been talked off the ledge, but we'll see what happens tonight, whether they can live to see another day. And if they do, they better be a hell of a lot better back in Toronto for Game 7 after that embarrassing Game 5 performance. Let's get Michael Remis back in here as we get ready for marbles. Reem, where are you at? I mean, do you give the Leafs any chance of making it happen tonight?
Yeah, you know what? We said this about the Jets after they got curb stomped in St. Louis, that they could come back and win Game 5 and Game 7. However, for the Leafs, I think it's a bit of a different story. You just had a total no-show at home, and I've seen all the stats about the Leafs when it's crunch time, Games 5 to 7. Not good. Marner and Matthews not producing in those games. It's crazy. So, I think the history there says no, and I think they come out with an effort and force a Game 7. I'll say, you know what? I like Game 7, so I'm going to say yeah, but I don't think you can be feeling great just knowing the history. And I think if you're a Leaf fan, you probably think, well, they'll force a Game 7 and lose it at home in some excruciating fashion. And because no one likes anything more when they show the sad Leaf fans at Maple Leaf Square watching the game and their horrified reactions. So,
speaking of the square, did you see that Habs fan rolled in the second period when they were down 4-0 and got in front of the area where they were all up against the fence and just started? It was one man against 1,000 or whatever, just dissing the Leaf fans. It was pretty harsh, ballsy by the Habs fan. Probably lucky with the level of frustration there that people weren't hopping the fence to try to get after him. But yeah, it's been a dark 48 hours. I did check out Overdrive yesterday. Absolutely just savaging Matthews and Marner. They said all those things you can talk about are great, but when your two best players are by far your two worst players, bad things will happen, and it doesn't get much worse than what happened in game number 5 in Toronto.
It's like people are just reusing all the rants that they've had the last couple playoffs about them. I see Jay Rosehill of Leafs Morning Take.
Yeah.
He had one the other day, and then they're just posting the one from last year. I'm consuming all this anti-Leafs comment. Justin Bourne had an article on Sportsnet just saying how these guys aren't winners about Marner and Matthews. Just getting savage. It's fascinating to watch.
Kiprio's too. Kipper hasn't been a Marner guy for a long time, but he went on an epic rant that I caught on social media saying they should have traded him years ago, and now they're going to be left with nothing other than another embarrassing playoff exit like we saw last week. That being said, we don't need to worry about that. We'll see what happens tonight. Our concern is tomorrow night, American Airlines Center, just after 7 p.m. to see whether the Jets can book a Monday night date, which will, I believe, be a 6:30 puck drop if the game takes place in the whiteout, where the winner will take on the Edmonton Oilers in the Western Conference Finals. All right, it's marbles time before we officially kick off the weekend, a May-long weekend, as it were. Let's get a little Tristan Rivers music to begin the festivities before we dive into marbles to finish up another great week here on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
You're muted there.
Sorry about that. I muted myself. It is marbles time on WST, everybody. Remo, you can get that sucker set up. I'm just looking at the chat. Yeah, someone with Sharpie Dog was asking about this program. Yeah, if you want to, he said, is it possible to download the marble race to play on my own? I'm thinking when my wife can't decide between dinner options, toss them in marbles and let them decide. It truly is the best decision maker available. Yeah, just on your PC, look up marbles on stream. And someone was asking about that game time. Is 6 p.m. I believe it's 6:30. I don't think there's been an announcement, but book an early start. It will not be 8:52 because there's no other games going on. It will be the primetime game, and of course tomorrow night. I know the broadcast on Sportsnet starts at 6:30. Puck will drop just after 7 p.m. And for the first time ever, the Jets are going to be coast to coast in the United States on the main network, ABC, tomorrow night. Jets and Dallas. And who's Bob Wichushin doing the game for ABC Ream?
He's doing it. And I know Leah Hacksaw is going to be the reporter. She's done a great job. And who is it? I forget who the other one. Is it Ryan Callahan? I could be. Oh, yeah, Ryan Callahan is the other one. He's moving up there in the U.S. ranks for national TV there. So.
Nice. Bob was good. I saw that tweet you did, and then I went in and just checked out some of his other calls.
He's very good.
Really good.
I think people want him to be the number one guy instead of Sean McDonough on ESPN.
Well, we'll see what happens next year. All I know is that he's going to be the guy tomorrow night if you want to watch the American broadcast. And I will say this. My sister was watching the game yesterday from Australia, and so she was getting the ESPN feed. And she just sent me this message last night at the end of the game. The commentator on ESPN just said, quote, "Well, Dallas will want to take this on Saturday. I mean, do you want to come back here for Game 7? I don't think they do, but the Jets certainly want to make that happen, and I'm feeling pretty good about tomorrow's Game 6, and hopefully we'll have that 7th game here on Monday. People asking about a show on Monday. If there is a game, I mean, we haven't really talked about this, Remis. I'd say another great reason to turn your notifications on and make sure you're following us on social media. But I would imagine that if there is a game on Monday, we'll probably find a way to crank out some content in and around the normal time, even if it's not a full normal show, to get you ready for the big Game 7, if, of course, that takes place.
Yeah, I would say just stay tuned, turn on, subscribe, turn on the notifications. If there's a game, yeah, we're going to have to do something, maybe not full 2 hours. You know, we went on for the Good Friday. I was hoping to have a long weekend, but I think it's good news if the Jets are in a Game 7. I'll tell you, like I felt emotions during that Game 7 that I have not experienced during a hockey game, maybe ever. And what a high that was. And maybe the Jets had a bit of a calm down from that high in game, early on in the series, but they had a great performance in Game 4, didn't come out with a win, and a dominating performance last night. And they got to be feeling pretty good about being able to force a Game 7 here on Monday.
Well, for sure. And this is why, like I said at the start of yesterday's show, it is absolutely insane to write this team off, especially the way that this series has gone. I don't think anyone needs a reminder, but I will, that this team was 2 minutes from being bounced and 2 goals down and put together the greatest comeback in Game 7 history, in the history of the National Hockey League, and then won in double overtime. So this team has proven it over and over again that they can rise to the occasion, and there is absolutely no quit in this team. And I think we're going to see our best from number 37. Got to have it. And the rest of this squad tomorrow night. All right, Reem, let's do this up. How many marbles and who we are? Does the CRTC monitor the show? I don't think so. I don't think the CRTC can say anything. It's the Wild West of the internet. But we've had no interactions with the CRTC, and that's a good thing. How many marbles today?
Yeah, he asked that. I was like, I don't know. Do they control YouTube? Is there like rules that they have to push more Canadian content? I don't know.
We're Canadian, so it's Canadian content. We don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, that's outside my knowledge. But as far as marble entries, we had 299 hit the exclamation mark marbles, and I added you in, and I added in Connor Hellebuck for the shutout. So 301 marble.
Excellent. Good vibes going into tomorrow. All right, where are we going to go today? One of the Dylan specials?
I went through a bunch of other ones.
Sure, yeah, whatever. You're the maestro of the marbles.
I picked Crazy Dance something.
Crazy Dance something. I like it.
Well, no, it's not something, but I forget the name. They all have these weird names. I sampled a lot. I got very strict marble criteria.
Listen, the bar's been set very high. We need only top flight courses and tracks for the Friday WST marble race. Again, we're playing for a WST hoodie. Shout out to our friends at Shipham and Associates. for helping us out with those. And if you are a winner, fire us an email afterwards, and we can. Well, now it's going to be a bit of a quieter weekend with this weather. Might be a good time to pick it up potentially over the course of the weekend. I'll hit you up for whoever wins.
Before I bring this out, a couple of shout outs. Pat Rathwell becoming a member, and he had a super chat as well.
Thanks, Pat.
Murray Brown and Schnitzy, welcome to the supporters. And Kim Sawchuk with the super chat, responding to T Kona Polly's initial one for your dad and mom, T Kona. So shout out to everyone for the super chats and their new memberships. You got the little microphone beside your name with the color based on how long you've been a member.
Love it. Love it. All right. Well, you get that thing ready to go. See our guy Rory McIlroy is making a bit of a run. Rory's 3 under for his round, playing the 9th hole. I'm going to kick back and watch the back 9 of the PGA Championship when we're done this today. He is looking good, getting it back to even after a tough 3 over first round. But Scotty Scheffler, 2 under for his round, and he's at -4, still with 10 holes to play. Looking to make it run at Johnny Vegas, who is in the lead right now at 8 under par. All right. It's the Crazy Dance Stream. Another new track. We've got just over 300 marbles. Vibes are high in the WST chat today after a big Game 5 win. Now we're looking for a win in Dallas in game number 6 and Game 7 Magic Monday night at Canada Life Center if they can pull it off tomorrow. But it's not the weekend, certainly not a long weekend until the marble race is completed. So Michael Remis, let's drop the marbles on WST and see who our winner this week is. All right, we got a bit of the Plinko start, if you will. Voice of Fire and Bob McCullough with nice starts. I see Keith S. in the mix there. Ryan Kibbins. Jennifer Friesen. Jennifer Friesen first out on this side. And Ardis on the right side. I think Ardis won one of the early ones. James Barnaby. Oh, we're losing a few. Boba Jet, Benjamin Gann, Keith Bartell, Ryan Dry.
Oh,
Winnipeg Chaster. Rob Pepper's gone. But James Barnaby is first place right now. Sea Breeze just breezed by everybody else into first place. Coachy 51's right afterwards. Sea Breeze actually really had a nice little run through there. Getting in first is now in. Oh, Sea Breeze, a great run. That was not easy to get through those obstacles as quickly as he did. But Sea Breeze, followed by Spills, Larry, Coachy. Everybody trying to catch Sea Breeze as he goes up the elevator into this next tube. Sea Breeze seems to be a little stuck. He's about to get caught by all these other marbles. He's still stuck. And now, Jet fan, Spills is in the mix. Spills and Larry right now. Cody Caron. And now Sea Breeze has gotten back into it, I think is a strong second. But it's Mr. Spills has now got caught up by these pegs that sometimes pop up. I think Sea Breeze just got ejected. Corio, yep, Sea Breeze, that was a nice run, but sorry, my man, you are gonzo. Chris Oberton, Cody Caron, and Spills right now are our top 3. Coachy 51's gotten in there. Great track. And, Wayne Gretzky out of nowhere now into first place. Coachy 51. JDSM in the mix, and it's still raining a few other marbles of individuals that are getting popped out. All right, Gretzky is in first place. His buddy Tyson Ducharme almost hit him while he was getting knocked out of the race today. But it's Gretzky, it's Coachy 51, Chris Oberton, Coach Hofer now in the mix as well. It's going to be the first one through. All right, it's Gretzky going into the Shark's Mouth. And this should be a run down to the bottom. Who's going to get into the slide first? and into the hopper. It's Caleb. Caleb Hofer with a big win at the end. Breaking the heart of Wayne Gretzky, Coachy, and others that were right in the mix. But Caleb Hofer, well done, Caleb. Second place, JDSM. Gary Labossiere in third. C. Jury fourth. Chris Oberton fifth. Coachy 51 sixth. Wayne Gretzky in seventh. Voice of Fire eighth. Mikey McBikeface 9. And longtime WSTer Manny Fran in 10th spot as the marbles finish up.
That was a crazy finish there, Huss. Wayne Gretzky looked like he had it, and it was... Who was the guy who was in first for a long time and then got
Sea Breeze.
Sea Breeze. He got top rope near the end. You never knew who was going to take it here. There were like 7 marbles trying to get through that last hole to get to the shark mouth slide, and it was Caleb who outlasted all of them. So what a track that was.
Caleb Hofer, nicely done. Caleb, send us an email, winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com. Let us know what hoodie size you are, and I'll holler at you, and you can set up a time to come by and pick it up. All right. Well, Remo, I'm fully expecting that we'll be doing a show of some sort Monday afternoon and getting in Game 7.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good here, Huss, as we count down to Game 6. That is on Saturday. And, 7 p.m. start time. So, going to have some nervous energy, I think, throughout the day. But I think you have to be feeling confident the way that they've played, that no better time for the first win. And the first win on the road, well, since 2023. Us. Remember that series versus Vegas, the no pushback series. There was certainly pushback last night at Canada Life Center by the Jets.
Here's our list as we just go down everyone that finished. There's Mary Jane. Mary Jane, I hope you have a great long weekend. Les Thompson, Donnie Boy's there. Doug Fitlin, Eagle Eyes. Oh, I cracked the top 100. 95th, not bad. Lucas Maciel, who won the Coolbet contest as well. Let's keep her going. Ryan Kibbins there at the bottom. We've got Darth Skater. Bardot. Lacey Dunbridget. Drew Music. There's Paul Carr. Schnitzy. What's up, Schnitz? Pat Rathwell. There's Dark Moon. JBM. JBM. Good luck to the Leafs tonight, JBM. I know a lot of people might not be pulling for you. You deserve it. That was really ugly in Game 5. Sandy Sharp. Dave Asplund. There's Cowboy. There's Phyllis, Yakman. Dr. Terry, St. Patel Dental Center. Not bad. And then everyone else that did not finish the race with a red DNF that they did not play. Oh, Amanda. That's okay. You need your luck for tomorrow night on that goal horn or wherever you'll be watching the game. All right, well, folks, there you have it. Another award-winning WST marble race. A great show after a big win last night for the Winnipeg Jets. No quit in this team. They're going to bring it tomorrow. Let's see the best from Connor Hellebuck. Let's see another performance top to bottom like we saw yesterday. And then let's get together on Monday and get ready for Game 7 for the second time in these playoffs. First, you got to break a 9-game losing streak on the road. And then you got to break a 9-game winning streak for Peter DeBoer, who's 9-0 in Game 7s. I would say both are very due of happening. Thanks to John Shannon, Jeff Hamilton, Joey Slattery. Good luck to the Seabears tonight. And Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. All of you for joining us today. And, of course, all the sponsors that make WST happen. Have a great long weekend. Let's hope we'll be talking on Monday about Game 7 right here on WST.
Oh, my God. Oh! Shut it down. Let's go home.
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.